Across the world, buried beneath layers of time, lie clues to stories humanity has forgotten. Monuments that defy logic, artifacts that whisper of lost civilizations, and relics that seem to rewrite what we think we know about our own past. For centuries, archaeologists and historians have tried to decode these silent enigmas, yet some secrets refuse to be uncovered. How did ancient builders carve and move stones weighing hundreds of tons with no modern machines? What knowledge was lost with vanished cultures whose technology and precision rival our own? From the haunting statues of Easter Island to cities swallowed by sand and jungle, the earth itself seems to guard its mysteries, waiting for someone to understand. These aren't just puzzles of the past. They are reminders that our history may be far older, far stranger, and far more connected than we imagine. So sit back, open your mind, and let's journey together into the unknown, exploring the unsolved archaeological mysteries you should know. In the quiet heart of Hunan Province, China, near the ancient city of Changsha, lies a tomb that defies the limits of time itself. When workers first uncovered it in the early 1970s, they could not have imagined what waited below, a world sealed in darkness for over 2,000 years, untouched since the Han Dynasty. Inside the massive, airtight chambers lay lacquered coffins, delicate silks, intricate wooden figurines, and a body so impossibly preserved that even seasoned archaeologists were left speechless. Her name was Xin Zhui, though she is better known to the world as the Lady of Dai. Once the noble wife of Li Kang, the Marquis of Dai, she lived in luxury during the Western Han period, around 163 BCE. But it was not her rank, her wealth, or even her elaborate tomb that astonished those who unearthed her. It was her condition. When the final coffin was opened, what greeted the excavation team was something no one expected. Flesh that was soft and supple, limbs that bent, hair still intact, and internal organs astonishingly preserved. Doctors and scientists who examined her body later compared her to someone who had died only weeks before. Her veins still contained traces of blood. Her joints were flexible. Even her eyelashes and eyebrows remained, delicate and untouched by decay. Forensic teams noted that her skin retained elasticity, her face still rounded, as if gently sleeping beneath the folds of silk that wrapped her for eternity. How could this be possible? No other body from antiquity, neither the mummified pharaohs of Egypt nor the frozen remains of the European Iceman, has been found in such extraordinary condition. The discovery of the Lady of Dai changed the world's understanding of ancient preservation forever, yet her secret remains unsolved. Archaeologists have documented the remarkable complexity of her burial. She was laid within 4 nested coffins, each meticulously sealed with layers of lacquer to prevent air and moisture from entering. Surrounding her were hundreds of objects: silk garments, musical instruments, cosmetics, food offerings, and even medical prescriptions. Each piece seemed designed to serve her in the afterlife, a carefully constructed universe to ensure her comfort beyond death. But what truly captured scientific attention was the mysterious liquid that filled her coffin, an unknown, slightly acidic substance that may have played a role in halting decomposition. Its exact chemical makeup remains uncertain. Some believe it was a sophisticated preservation fluid, intentionally crafted by Han Dynasty embalmers who understood more about anatomy and chemistry than history credits them for. Others think it was the result of natural mineral reactions from the surrounding soil. Yet, to this day, no formula has ever been fully replicated or explained. Even modern technology cannot fully solve the enigma. CT scans and autopsies revealed that Xin Zhui suffered from a range of illnesses: coronary disease, gallstones, and high blood pressure, common ailments of a life of comfort and indulgence. Her last meal, still preserved within her stomach, was a serving of melon. From these details, we see not just a mummy, but a person, a woman who lived, feasted, suffered, and died, yet whose body refused to yield to death itself. Scientists continue to ask the same haunting question: why her? Was her preservation the product of luck, a perfect convergence of environmental factors that halted decay, or was it the result of knowledge now lost to history? Could the Han Dynasty's physicians have mastered an early form of embalming science, passed down through secret texts now destroyed by time? Or did her preservation owe itself to a ritual, perhaps even spiritual, practice designed to keep her essence tethered to the mortal world? Theories abound. Some scholars point to the Han belief in immortality and the soul's physical journey beyond death. The tomb's design, filled with representations of heaven and earth, seems to reflect a deliberate attempt to merge the two. In this interpretation, her perfect preservation was not merely biological, it was metaphysical, a manifestation of an ancient desire to transcend decay and time. More speculative minds have gone further, suggesting that the Lady of Dai's body may be evidence of advanced preservation techniques unknown to modern science, or even that ancient China possessed a proto-scientific understanding of chemistry far beyond its era. Some fringe theories even flirt with the notion of ancient biotechnology, an idea that her preservation was part of an experiment in extending life, an echo of the Han Emperor's obsession with immortality, elixirs, and alchemical secrets. But the truth, whatever it may be, remains buried with her. Today, Xin Zhui rests within the Hunan Provincial Museum, encased in a carefully controlled environment that mimics the unique conditions of her tomb. Visitors peer through glass, gazing at a woman who seems to have cheated death itself, a silent ambassador from a world 2 millennia gone. Her presence invites awe, but also unease. There is something unsettling about seeing life preserved where it should no longer exist, as if time itself paused for her alone. Every detail, the folds of her silk robe, the still visible pores of her skin, the faint expression upon her face, feels like a whisper across the centuries. What did she believe about the afterlife? Did she know her body would endure? Was her preservation an accident of nature, or the triumph of forgotten knowledge? The Lady of Dai remains both a scientific marvel and a philosophical riddle, a bridge between the living and the dead, the known and the unknowable. She forces us to confront a deeper question. If the past can hold on to life so tenaciously, what else might it still be hiding beneath the Earth's quiet surface? And as the centuries pass, one cannot help but wonder, what other secrets lie waiting, perfectly preserved beneath our feet? As we leave behind the quiet solemnity of China's Hunan province and the timeless preservation of the Lady of Dai, our journey carries us thousands of kilometers north to the windswept archipelagos of Russia's White Sea. Here, on the rugged, granite-strewn islands of the Solovetsky archipelago, lie traces of human activity that are as mysterious as they are ancient. Among them, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Island holds one of the region's most enigmatic and enduring secrets, the stone labyrinths, silent monuments of a civilization long vanished. From a distance, these labyrinths appear deceptively simple, low, interwoven walls of fieldstone laid carefully upon the uneven island terrain. Yet, as one approaches, the pattern becomes mesmerizing. Curving paths that twist and double back upon themselves, creating spirals and circles whose purpose is not immediately clear. Sunlight casts long shadows across the stones, revealing subtle geometric designs that might have been intended to guide, confuse, or even protect. The largest labyrinth on Bolshoi Zayatsky stretches over 20 meters, a complex of stone winding in intricate loops that defy casual interpretation. Archaeologists estimate that these labyrinths were constructed during the Late Bronze Age, around 2000 to 500 BCE. Similar stone labyrinths are scattered across northern Europe, Scandinavia, and the Russian Arctic. suggesting a shared cultural practice among disparate communities living in harsh coastal environments. But their function remains elusive. Were they ceremonial spaces designed for ritualistic dances or initiations? Were they territorial markers, or perhaps even astronomical calendars, aligning with solstices or lunar cycles? Excavations around Bolshoi Zayatsky have revealed little in the way of artifacts to confirm their purpose. Unlike burial mounds or fortified settlements, these labyrinths do not seem to contain human remains or everyday tools. Their construction is purely architectural, composed of carefully placed stones that have survived the centuries despite relentless storms, frost, and coastal erosion. Some stones appear deliberately shaped or selected for size and weight, suggesting not casual assembly, but careful design. The local folklore adds another layer to the mystery. Tales passed down through generations speak of spirits and protective powers within the labyrinths. Fishermen and islanders once claimed that wandering the paths could induce visions, confusion, or even illness. A warning, perhaps, or a memory of some deeper ritual that has been lost to time. Could these stories hint at the labyrinth's original purpose, or are they simply the projections of later generations trying to make sense of an inexplicable structure? Modern researchers have attempted to decode the labyrinths using comparative studies. In some Scandinavian labyrinths, for example, paths have been linked to sun rituals or seasonal transitions. Others suggest that labyrinths might have served as meditation or trance spaces, designed to lead participants inward, both physically and spiritually. Yet, when applied to the Bolshoi Zayatsky labyrinths, these interpretations only raise more questions. The labyrinth's orientation seems irregular, and no direct evidence ties them to any known solar or lunar cycles. Their precise location on the island, often near cliff edges or rocky promontories, may hint at symbolic meaning, or perhaps a connection to maritime navigation, but the data is inconclusive. Some speculative voices have proposed that these labyrinths could be markers for hidden resources, or even a coded system of communication across the archipelago, linking islands through visual or symbolic language. Others wonder whether the labyrinths are remnants of a now extinct spiritual tradition, one whose rituals and cosmology vanished before written records could capture them. Archaeology alone cannot answer these questions. What remains are stones, paths, and shadows, silent yet persistent witnesses to a distant past. What is particularly striking is the sheer scale of effort required to construct the labyrinths. Bolshoi Zayatsky is not a fertile, easily navigable land. It is rocky, uneven, and exposed to harsh northern weather. Transporting stones, arranging them into precise spirals and circles, and maintaining them against wind, ice, and rain would have demanded significant labor and communal cooperation. Such investment implies that the labyrinths held profound meaning for those who built them, yet their message, or the exact nature of their significance, has been lost. Even today, the labyrinths exert a quiet, almost hypnotic power over those who visit. Walkers tracing the paths can feel the complexity of human intent embedded in the stone. Every curve, loop, and circle seems deliberate, as though the builders had a precise vision, a pattern meant to be read or experienced, but one whose code has been erased by millennia. Scholars continue to debate. Were the labyrinths sacred, protective, meditative, or simply symbolic? Could they have multiple purposes, their meaning evolving over centuries of use and reinterpretation? The Bolshoi Zayatsky labyrinths remind us that human ingenuity and spiritual expression are not limited to great cities, monumental temples, or written records. Sometimes, the most profound mysteries are etched into the earth itself, in simple materials arranged with care and purpose. They challenge us to imagine a culture that revered the abstract, that found meaning in the winding path rather than the destination. And yet, despite decades of study, we are left with more questions than answers. Did the builders leave clues that we have not yet deciphered? Could a deeper understanding lie in comparison with distant labyrinths, or in patterns yet unrecognized by modern researchers? What knowledge, ritual, or belief system drove human hands to shape these stones into spirals that persist through storms and centuries? As we step back from Bolshoi Zayatsky and look across the windswept archipelago, the labyrinths remain silent. They are reminders that some mysteries resist explanation, that human history is filled with acts of creativity and meaning whose purpose has faded with time, and they invite us to wonder what else lies hidden in the remote corners of our world, patiently waiting for those who dare to trace the paths and seek the stories etched in stone. From the windswept stones of Russia's northern labyrinths, our journey leads us southward, to the misty slopes of Bulgaria's Rhodope Mountains, where dense forests and jagged cliffs have long hidden secrets from the eyes of men. Here, in a quiet cave carved into the mountainside, archaeologists stumbled upon a discovery both startling and perplexing: a human skull unlike any they had ever encountered. Known simply as the Rhodope skull, this relic challenges our understanding of anatomy, anthropology, and the limits of human variation. At first glance, it appears familiar: a human cranium weathered by time, yet preserved with remarkable integrity. But closer examination reveals striking anomalies. Its shape deviates sharply from the conventional contours of Homo sapiens. The cranial vault is unusually elongated, its forehead sloping more dramatically than normal, while the eye sockets are wider, almost almond-shaped. The jawline, though subtle, is distinctly narrower, and the overall proportions of the skull suggest a cranial capacity greater than average. Scholars who first studied it noted that it does not easily fit into any known category of ancient humans, nor does it align perfectly with Neolithic or Bronze Age populations from the Balkans. Radiocarbon dating places the skull's age at approximately 4,000 years, coinciding with the Late Bronze Age, a period of cultural complexity and extensive trade networks across Europe. During this era, the Rhodope Mountains were home to communities skilled in metallurgy, pottery, and ritual practice. Yet the purpose or identity of this individual remains elusive. Was it a member of an unusual genetic lineage, or an individual whose cranial shape had been deliberately altered, as was sometimes practiced in ancient societies for ceremonial or social reasons? The possibility of cranial modification opens one line of inquiry. Historical records show that some ancient cultures intentionally bound or shaped the heads of infants to achieve distinctive forms, often as a sign of status, tribal identity, or spiritual significance. Could the Rhodope skull be an example of such a practice? Yet, the degree of elongation observed here is extraordinary, far exceeding the limits of known binding techniques. The curvature of the skull is smooth, uniform, almost organic in its precision, as if it were a natural anomaly rather than the result of human intervention. Some researchers have suggested that the skull may represent a previously unrecognized population or a rare genetic mutation. Indeed, isolated mountain valleys often preserve unique traits within small communities, and the Rhodopes, with their steep, difficult terrain, could have fostered such genetic isolation. But this explanation, while plausible, leaves gaps. Why would such an unusual individual be buried with care in a remote cave rather than in a community grave? What might this suggest about the social or spiritual significance attributed to the individual? Adding to the intrigue is the context of the discovery. The cave where the skull was found is lined with remnants of ritual activity, fragments of pottery, traces of charred offerings, and shallow depressions suggesting ceremonial placement. These elements hint that the skull may not simply have been a remnant of ordinary life, but part of a deliberate practice, perhaps an act of veneration, or a symbolic deposition meant to communicate with forces unseen. The Rhodope Mountains themselves, shrouded in mist and legend, have long been associated with mystical beliefs, and local folklore tells of spirits inhabiting the high passes and hidden caves. Could this individual have been considered special or chosen in a ritual sense? Scientific analysis of the bone itself has yielded equally puzzling data. Isotopic tests indicate a diet consistent with local Bronze Age populations, rich in cereals, wild game, and freshwater fish. Yet some trace elements suggest occasional trade or migration. DNA sequencing has been limited due to the skull's delicate condition, but preliminary results hint at ancestry connections both familiar and unexpected, a blend of lineages that challenges simplistic narratives of ancient European populations. Speculative interpretations naturally arise. Some propose that the skull could belong to a population previously unknown to science, potentially linking early Europeans to distant groups in ways not yet understood. Others ponder whether unusual environmental factors, disease, or cultural practices could have contributed to the cranial form. Fringe theories abound, of course, some suggesting hyperintelligence, others invoking esoteric or extraterrestrial influence. But the scholarly consensus emphasizes caution, focusing on observable evidence while acknowledging profound gaps in understanding. What is undeniable is the effect the skull has on those who study it. Its unusual proportions, its serene yet enigmatic presence, and the mysteries of its burial context evoke questions that reach beyond archaeology into philosophy and imagination. It is a reminder that the human story is not linear or fully documented. It contains anomalies, outliers, and enigmas that resist categorization, forcing us to confront the unknown within ourselves. The Rhodope skull also underscores a recurring theme in our exploration of unsolved archaeological mysteries: the coexistence of the familiar and the inexplicable. Like the preserved elegance of the Lady of Dai, or the deliberate spirals of the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, the skull reminds us that ancient peoples engaged with the world in ways that continue to elude modern comprehension. Their decisions, how to preserve a body, shape a stone, or honor an individual, carry meaning that may have been apparent at the time, but is now partially lost to history. And so, as we study the contours of this solitary skull, as we trace its unusual lines and ponder the life it once contained, we are left with the same quiet question that has followed every artifact on our journey. What secrets of humanity's past are still hidden, waiting to be uncovered in the shadowed caves, beneath the stones, or in the silent traces of forgotten rituals? The Rhodope skull remains an invitation to wonder, a silent witness from 4 millennia ago, challenging us to reconsider what we know and what we have yet to discover about the diversity, ingenuity, and mystery of human life. From the shadowed caves of Bulgaria's Rhodope Mountains and the mysterious contours of an ancient skull, our journey now carries us across continents and oceans to the tropical landscapes of northeastern Brazil. Nestled within the municipality of Ingá, in the state of Paraíba, lies a massive, unassuming rock that conceals one of South America's most perplexing archaeological enigmas. Known as Pedra do Ingá, or the Ingá Stone, this granite monolith stretches over 24 meters in length, its dark surface etched with hundreds of intricate carvings that have baffled scholars for centuries. The carvings are unlike any other in the Americas. From a distance, they appear as a series of grooves and depressions. But as the eye adjusts, patterns emerge: geometric shapes, spirals, and forms reminiscent of animals, serpents, and celestial bodies. Some appear abstract, others strikingly precise, suggesting a deliberate purpose or language long forgotten. Sunlight casts subtle shadows along the carved lines, revealing depths and angles that hint at a sophisticated understanding of both form and light. Walking along the rock's surface, one feels as though the monolith itself holds a story, waiting patiently for someone to decipher it. Archaeologists believe the carvings were created by indigenous peoples before the arrival of Europeans, likely several thousand years ago, though dating is challenging. Unlike sites with organic remains or pottery shards, Pedra do Ingá offers no definitive artifacts to firmly anchor its chronology. The precision and scale of the carvings, however, indicate an advanced understanding of stoneworking techniques and possibly symbolic or astronomical knowledge. Many researchers have noted the similarity between certain grooves and depictions of astronomical phenomena. Some carvings seem to map constellations or the movement of celestial bodies across the night sky, suggesting that the rock may have served as an early observatory or calendar. Others interpret the winding, serpentine shapes as representations of water, rivers, or spiritual entities central to local cosmologies. Yet no single theory fully accounts for the diversity and precision of the carvings, and no written record survives to explain their intent. The mystery deepens when considering the sheer scale and technique. The grooves are carved with remarkable consistency, their depth uniform, their angles precise. Some lines are parallel and symmetrical. Others intersect in ways that imply deliberate mathematical understanding. How did ancient peoples, without modern tools, manage to inscribe such patterns into granite with such accuracy? Was it purely artistic, or did it serve a ritualistic or practical purpose? Speculation abounds. Some scholars suggest that the carvings were a form of proto-writing, a symbolic system to record stories, events, or knowledge. Others see them as sacred, part of religious ceremonies or shamanic practices intended to connect the human with the divine or the natural world. Fringe theories have proposed extraterrestrial involvement or advanced prehistoric civilizations with knowledge lost to time, but mainstream researchers caution that the evidence is insufficient for such claims. What is undeniable, however, is the intentionality. Every line, curve, and spiral seems carefully executed, as if conveying meaning beyond immediate comprehension. The local landscape adds to the sense of mystery. Pedra do Ingá sits in a relatively flat region, yet its presence dominates the terrain, drawing attention from a distance. Nearby rivers and fertile lands hint at why ancient communities may have chosen this location. It was a place of gathering, sustenance, and observation. Could the rock have functioned as a ceremonial site, a meeting point for rituals, or a canvas to record celestial knowledge for generations to come? Visitors often describe an almost hypnotic effect when standing before the rock. The grooves invite the eye to follow their winding paths, spirals leading into spirals, angles intersecting in patterns that seem at once deliberate and elusive. It is a reminder that the people who created Pedra do Ingá engaged with their environment in ways that combined artistry, observation, and perhaps spiritual understanding. Their intentions, while obscure to us, are etched permanently into stone. Scientific investigations have cataloged the carvings extensively, noting patterns and recurring motifs. Comparisons with other South American rock art suggest cultural connections, but Pedra do Ingá stands apart in complexity and scope. Its carvings are not mere decoration. They are purposeful, yet their purpose remains speculative. Could the carvings have been a form of knowledge preservation, a mnemonic system for teaching or recording events? Were they meant to be read literally, interpreted symbolically, or experienced as part of ritual performance? Despite decades of research, Pedra do Ingá continues to resist definitive explanation. The rock challenges assumptions about pre-Columbian knowledge, technology, and expression. It invites reflection on what ancient civilizations understood about their world and how they chose to encode that understanding. And like the Rhodope skull, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, and the Lady of Dai, Pedra do Ingá is a testament to human ingenuity, creativity, and the enduring allure of the unexplained. Standing before the monolith, one cannot help but feel a sense of humility and wonder. The grooves and spirals seem almost like a dialogue across time, a silent communication from those who lived thousands of years ago. We see the marks, study their form, and hypothesize their meaning, but the rock keeps its secrets close. What knowledge, what rituals, what stories might have been lost with the passage of centuries? And so, as the sun sets over the fields of Paraíba, casting long shadows across the carved surface, we are left with the same quiet question that has followed every enigmatic site on this journey. What lies beyond our understanding, hidden in the stone, waiting for someone patient enough to read its silent script? Pedra do Ingá remains not just a monument of the past, but a challenge to our curiosity, an invitation to continue exploring, questioning, and marveling at the ingenuity of ancient peoples and at the mysteries they left behind. From the intricate grooves of Brazil's Pedra do Ingá, our exploration carries us northward through the dense jungles of southern Mexico to the banks of the Usumacinta River. Here lies Yaxchilan, a once powerful Maya city that flourished along these waterways between the 4th and 9th centuries CE. Today, the site stands as a testament to an ancient civilization renowned for its architectural mastery, astronomical knowledge, and intricate artistry. Among Yaxchilan's most compelling enigmas are its stone lintels, delicately carved beams suspended above doorways that speak across the centuries in a language both precise and mysterious. Approaching the grand temples of Yaxchilan, one is immediately struck by the artistry of the lintels. Carved from single blocks of limestone, each lintel measures several meters in length and bears exquisitely detailed bas-reliefs depicting figures in elaborate dress, ritual scenes, and glyphs whose meanings remain partially undeciphered. Sunlight filtering through the jungle canopy illuminates the carvings in a shifting play of light and shadow, highlighting gestures, facial expressions, and symbols that suggest narratives both political and sacred. Some depict rulers performing bloodletting rituals. Others portray mythical beings entwined with serpents and jaguars, creatures central to Maya cosmology. Historians date these lintels to the reigns of notable Yaxchilan kings, including Shield Jaguar II and Bird Jaguar IV, rulers who left their mark not only on stone but on the political landscape of the Maya lowlands. The carvings appear to record triumphs, alliances, and sacred ceremonies, yet their full meaning remains elusive. The glyphic inscriptions accompanying the scenes are partially understood, offering dates, names, and titles, but many phrases resist translation, leaving gaps in the story they attempt to convey. What makes the lintels particularly intriguing is not merely their artistry, but the context in which they were created. Each lintel had to be carved, transported, and installed with extraordinary precision, no small feat considering their weight and the technological limitations of the era. How did the Maya lift these stones into place high above doorways and temple entrances without the benefit of modern cranes or pulleys? Archaeologists have hypothesized the use of ramps, scaffolding, and sheer human ingenuity. Yet the process still inspires admiration and wonder. Beyond the technical achievement lies the deeper mystery, the purpose and symbolism embedded in these carvings. Many scholars believe the lintels served dual roles as both ceremonial markers and historical records, blending the sacred with the political. Yet the scenes often present enigmas. Why do some figures appear larger than others? Why are certain glyphs emphasized, while others are conspicuously absent? Could the placement of these lintels, high above the eyes of observers, have been intended to communicate messages to the heavens, or to those who would walk beneath them, connecting the mundane and divine? The subject matter of the lintels also raises compelling questions. Repeated depictions of bloodletting, ritualized self-injury by rulers, suggest a culture intensely focused on sacrifice, power, and divine connection. But the precision and care with which these acts are immortalized in stone hint at layers of meaning beyond mere ritual documentation. Were these carvings intended to legitimize rulership, to convey spiritual authority, or to serve as mnemonic devices, preserving narratives that could be recited or enacted by future generations? Comparative studies of Maya sites provide partial insight. Similar reliefs are found at Palenque, Copan, and Tikal. Yet Yaxchilan's lintels are remarkable for their artistry and clarity, preserved in a humid jungle environment that has eroded so much else. Some researchers have noted astronomical references, suggesting that certain carvings align with solar or lunar cycles, or correspond to dates of ritual significance. If true, this would indicate an extraordinary integration of art, politics, and celestial observation. Yet no theory fully accounts for all the symbols, leaving interpretations open and debate ongoing. Speculative interpretations naturally arise. Some suggest the lintels might encode esoteric knowledge, mathematical, astronomical, or spiritual, that only initiates could understand. Others ponder whether the scenes depict allegorical truths, myths rendered as historical narrative, or even symbolic journeys of the soul. Could there have been a system of meaning lost over time that combined visual storytelling with numerology, cosmology, and ritual practice? The answers remain tantalizingly out of reach. What is undeniable is the sense of human intention embedded in each carving. Every gesture, every intricate headdress, every serpent coiled along a ruler's body reflects not only aesthetic skill, but a sophisticated worldview. The lintels are records of identity, authority, and belief, yet they also confront us with what remains unknowable. The thoughts, motivations, and experiences of people who lived over a millennium ago, whose society and language left traces, but not a complete story. The preservation of these lintels, despite centuries of exposure to the jungle's relentless growth, humidity, and decay, serves as a reminder of both the fragility and endurance of human expression. They are voices from the past, speaking across time with eloquence, clarity, and mystery, reminding us that archaeology is as much about questions as it is about answers. As we stand beneath these suspended stones, tracing the curves of carved glyphs and the meticulous folds of garments, we are invited to imagine a world of ritual, governance, and myth, where rulers communicated with both the living and the divine through stone. We are left to wonder, what stories, what wisdom, and what secrets did these lintels carry to those who could read them fully? And what meanings, lost to history, still echo silently through the canopy of Yaxchilan, waiting for us to discover? In the end, the lintels of Yaxchilan endure as an eloquent testament to human creativity and mystery. They challenge us to recognize the depth of knowledge and devotion encoded in stone, and to acknowledge that some truths, no matter how carefully carved, remain just out of reach, whispering across the centuries, inviting exploration, reflection, and awe. And from the dense jungles of southern Mexico and the intricate carvings of the Yaxchilan lintels, our journey carries us across continents once more to the rugged heights of the Himalayas. Nestled within the valleys of Nepal, where mist and mountain converge, lies a small but profoundly intriguing artifact, the Lolladoff Plate, a bronze disc whose origins, purpose, and meaning continue to puzzle historians and archaeologists alike. The plate itself is deceptively modest in size, measuring just a few centimeters across, yet its surface is rich with intricacy. Concentric circles, tiny raised dots, and finely etched symbols decorate the bronze, each mark precise, deliberate, and enigmatic. Under the sunlight, or under the beam of a careful study lamp, the patterns shimmer, revealing a complexity that suggests careful observation of natural or celestial phenomena. The plate, though small, demands attention. Its craftsmanship is extraordinary, reflecting a level of skill and aesthetic sensibility that seems advanced for the period in which it likely originated. Dating the artifact has proven difficult. Stylistic analysis places it somewhere in the late 1st millennium CE, but no inscriptions provide a clear marker of authorship or culture. The discovery was made during a survey of an ancient temple site in Nepal, surrounded by stone shrines, prayer wheels, and inscriptions carved into cliff faces. Yet, unlike the larger ceremonial or religious artifacts in the region, the Lolladoff Plate stands apart, portable, personal, and perhaps symbolic in ways that escape modern interpretation. What captivates researchers is the precision and potential purpose of the plate's markings. Some scholars suggest it may have been used as a primitive astronomical tool, a way to track the movement of the sun, moon, or stars across the Himalayan sky. The concentric circles could correspond to cycles of celestial bodies, while the smaller dots might mark key positions or significant events in a lunar calendar. Yet no definitive evidence confirms this theory, and the alignment of the symbols does not perfectly match known astronomical calculations of the era. Could it have been a guide, a calendar, or even a teaching tool, lost to time and memory? Others look to symbolism for answers. The plate's motifs echo certain aspects of Buddhist iconography: mandalas, circles representing wholeness and the universe. But again, the resemblance is suggestive rather than conclusive. Some scholars argue that it may have served a spiritual or ritual function, carried by a monk or practitioner to meditate upon, or as a symbolic object representing cosmic order. If so, the small size of the plate makes sense. It was portable, intimate, and personal, yet no written record survives to describe its intended use. The Lolladoff Plate also raises technical questions. The precision of the engravings suggests advanced metallurgical knowledge. How did artisans, without modern magnification or machinery, create such consistent and delicate lines? Was this skill common in the region, or does the plate represent a unique mastery of bronze working, perhaps tied to a particular school of artisans now lost to history? The artifact's resilience, its survival over centuries in a mountainous, often humid environment, speaks to the care with which it was made and preserved. Speculative interpretations abound. Could the plate have been part of a larger set of instruments, now lost, used for astronomical observation or ritual calculation? Did it represent knowledge that was passed orally, a mnemonic device for meditation, or a symbolic encoding of philosophical or cosmological principles? Some fringe theories, drawing on the mysterious precision of its design, suggest influences from lost civilizations or even extraterrestrial knowledge, though mainstream scholarship approaches these ideas cautiously. What is undeniable is the intent. Every line, every dot, every etched spiral appears purposeful, as if encoding meaning we have yet to fully understand. Context further deepens the intrigue. The plate was found amid the ruins of a small temple complex, itself carved into stone and adorned with faded frescoes and statues. Local oral traditions speak of hidden wisdom, of objects imbued with power, and of sacred knowledge guarded by monks and hermits. Could the Lolladoff Plate have been considered a vessel of knowledge or a talisman, designed to connect its possessor to the cycles of the heavens or to spiritual truths beyond ordinary perception? Scientific analysis has confirmed the composition of the bronze as consistent with regional metallurgical techniques of the period, yet the precision of the work remains exceptional. Comparisons with other small artifacts from Nepal and neighboring regions reveal similarities in style but no exact parallel, leaving the Lolladoff Plate isolated in its sophistication. Its purpose, its meaning, and its original context all remain tantalizingly out of reach. And yet, standing before images or replicas of the plate, one can sense its silent eloquence. The interplay of circles and dots, the meticulous craftsmanship, the thought that must have gone into its creation, all suggest a human desire to understand, to map, and to connect with something greater than oneself. It is a reminder, once more, that the artifacts of the past are not mere objects, but vessels of thought, intent, and mystery. The Lolladoff Plate, like the Lady of Dai, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, the Rhodope Skull, Pedra do Ingá, and the Yaxchilan Lintels, challenges our understanding. It asks us to consider the ingenuity of ancient peoples, the depth of their observation, and the layers of meaning encoded in objects we are only beginning to perceive. Was it a tool, a symbol, a guide, or something else entirely? What knowledge, practices, or beliefs have vanished with the passage of centuries, leaving behind only this small, shimmering disk as a hint? As we trace the etched lines and contemplate the skill and intention behind them, the Lolladoff Plate remains a quiet testament to human curiosity, intellect, and artistry. It invites reflection, imagination, and patience, an object that speaks without words, urging us to wonder not just what it was used for, but what else might still be hidden in the high valleys of the Himalayas, waiting to be discovered. From the high valleys of Nepal and the shimmering bronze of the Lolladoff Plate, our exploration now carries us across the globe to the freshwater depths of North America. Beneath the cold, shifting waters of Lake Michigan lies a discovery that has intrigued divers, archaeologists, and historians alike. The Lake Michigan Stone Circle, a formation that evokes both awe and profound mystery. Here, amid submerged forests and ancient lake beds, stones lie arranged in a near-perfect circle, hinting at human activity long before the written record of this region. The site was first noticed by divers exploring the lake's floor. At a depth of roughly 40 feet, they found stones, rounded, carefully positioned, and unusually uniform, forming a circular pattern nearly 12 meters in diameter. Some stones weigh hundreds of pounds, and each appears intentionally placed, their arrangement too precise to be dismissed as natural. Sunlight filtering through the water creates shifting patterns across the stones, highlighting the meticulous geometry and lending an otherworldly quality to the formation. Radiocarbon dating and sediment analysis indicate that the lake's water level has changed significantly over millennia. At the time the stones were likely arranged, the area may have been dry land, part of an ancient shoreline or shallow river delta. This places the circle's creation somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 years ago, during a period when Native American cultures were establishing complex societies across the Great Lakes region. Yet no definitive artifacts, pottery shards, tools, or remains have been found directly associated with the circle, leaving its origin, purpose, and creators shrouded in mystery. What might have motivated the placement of these stones in such precise formation? Some researchers propose that the circle functioned as a ceremonial site, a sacred gathering place for seasonal rituals or community events. Others suggest that it may have served as a form of astronomical observatory, aligned with solstices, equinoxes, or the movement of stars, echoing similar structures found worldwide. Yet the exact pattern does not correspond perfectly to known celestial alignments, leaving room for debate. The scale and effort involved are remarkable. Constructing a stone circle of this size, lifting and placing hundreds of heavy stones on uneven terrain, would have required coordination, planning, and a purpose meaningful enough to justify such labor. It suggests a society with social organization, knowledge of geometry, and cultural practices deeply tied to the landscape. Yet, without accompanying artifacts or written records, we are left to infer intent from the stones themselves, and to imagine the hands that arranged them thousands of years ago. Some interpretations turn toward speculation. Could the circle have functioned as a territorial marker, delineating ownership of resources, sacred spaces, or trade routes along the ancient shoreline? Or was it a map of the land or water, an early attempt to record geographic or environmental knowledge in a visual form? Fringe theories abound, some invoking lost civilizations or connections to global megalithic traditions, but mainstream scholarship emphasizes careful observation, comparative analysis, and the possibility that its significance may never be fully understood. Adding to the intrigue is the context of the lake itself. Underwater surveys reveal tree stumps and peat layers, evidence of fluctuating water levels and a landscape transformed over millennia. The circle now rests beneath layers of sediment and silt, a submerged echo of an environment that no longer exists. What we see today is only a fragment of the ancient landscape, a tantalizing glimpse of human activity frozen in time and water. Could there have been additional structures or markers that have long since disappeared, leaving the circle as the sole survivor of a larger network of sacred or communal sites? Comparisons with other stone circles, such as those in Europe, South America, and Asia, offer insights but also deepen the mystery. While the use of stones to demarcate sacred spaces, mark astronomical events, or establish ritual boundaries is widespread across cultures, the Lake Michigan Circle is unique in its context, submerged, isolated, and disconnected from the larger settlement evidence one might expect. Its solitary existence raises profound questions about cultural memory, preservation, and the ways ancient peoples engaged with the natural environment. Scientists and divers continue to study the site using sonar mapping, underwater photography, and sediment analysis, revealing patterns and anomalies invisible to the naked eye. Some stones appear deliberately placed to create a sense of symmetry, while others seem to indicate pathways or alignments across the circle's center. Yet, every investigation uncovers more questions than answers. Why this location? Why this precise geometry? And why has it remained hidden beneath Lake Michigan for thousands of years? Standing metaphorically on the shoreline, imagining the hands that laid each stone, we are reminded that human curiosity, ritual, and ingenuity are constants across time and space. The Lake Michigan Stone Circle, like the Lolladoff Plate in Nepal, the Lintels of Yaxchilan, Pedra do Ingá, the Rhodope skull, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, and the Lady of Dai, confronts us with the limits of our understanding. It invites contemplation, speculation, and humility before the persistence of mystery. We are left to wonder, what purpose did this circle serve? Was it a ceremonial space, a calendar, a territorial marker, or something entirely beyond our current comprehension? And what other remnants of human ingenuity remain hidden beneath the waters of our lakes, rivers, and oceans, waiting for discovery? The Lake Michigan Stone Circle endures as a quiet testament to human creativity and the enigma of the past. Its stones, silently resting beneath the waves, are an invitation to explore, to question, and to marvel at the ingenuity of civilizations that thrived long before our own, leaving traces of their existence in patterns both enduring and inscrutable. From the submerged stones of Lake Michigan, our journey takes us across the vast Pacific Ocean to the remote islands of Micronesia, where turquoise waters lap against black basalt shores. Here lies Nan Madol, often called the Venice of the Pacific, an ancient city of megalithic architecture built upon a series of artificial islets in the lagoon of Pohnpei. The site stretches over 1,000 acres, its network of canals, stone walls, and ruined structures hinting at a civilization of astonishing skill and ingenuity. From the air, the city appears as a constellation of stone and water, a maze of coral and basalt islands linked by narrow channels. Ground-level exploration reveals massive stone walls, some standing nearly 7 meters high, constructed from columnar basalt blocks that weigh several tons each. These stones were quarried from locations several kilometers away and transported across water, a feat that continues to confound engineers and historians alike. The precision of their placement, the stability of the walls, and the labyrinthine layout suggest a sophisticated understanding of both construction and urban planning. Archaeologists date Nan Madol's construction to around 1200 CE, a period of flourishing chiefdoms in Micronesia. Yet, despite its size and complexity, the the city was abandoned centuries ago, leaving no written records to explain why or how it functioned. The absence of organic remains or artifacts for everyday life adds to the mystery. Was Nan Madol primarily a ceremonial center, a political capital, or both? Some structures appear to be tombs or temples, while others may have served administrative or residential purposes for a ruling elite. Yet much remains speculative. The most striking enigma of Nan Madol lies in its construction methods. How did the islanders transport such massive basalt columns across water without the wheel, large draft animals, or advanced machinery? Some theories propose the use of wooden rafts and elaborate pulley systems, while others suggest a combination of ingenuity, human labor, and local environmental knowledge. The absence of definitive evidence leaves room for wonder and for speculation about the limits of human capability in remote and isolated societies. The layout of Nan Madol itself is equally puzzling. Its islets are organized with striking symmetry, some forming linear arrangements along canals, others clustered in circular or rectangular patterns. The placement may reflect hierarchical social structures, ritual significance, or defensive strategy, yet without written accounts, the meaning remains elusive. Some researchers have proposed astronomical alignments, hinting at potential connections between the city's orientation and solar, lunar, or stellar events. If true, this would indicate an advanced understanding of celestial patterns and their integration into urban design. Local legend adds another dimension to the mystery. Oral histories speak of Sondelur, a line of semi-mythical rulers who supposedly commanded the city's construction. According to tradition, the Sondelur dynasty harnessed extraordinary knowledge or power, organizing labor and engineering feats that ordinary humans could scarcely accomplish. Could these tales, passed down through generations, contain kernels of truth about the social, political, or spiritual mechanisms that shaped Nan Madol? Or do they reflect the awe and reverence inspired by a city whose origins were already obscure to later generations? Comparative studies highlight Nan Madol's uniqueness. While other Pacific cultures built stone platforms, temples, or ceremonial centers, none matched the scale, complexity, and artificial lagoon construction seen here. Some scholars have drawn parallels to megalithic sites in Southeast Asia, suggesting possible cultural exchange or parallel development. Yet Nan Madol remains distinct, its combination of water, stone, and urban planning unmatched anywhere else in the region. Speculative interpretations continue to capture the imagination. Some propose that the city's design facilitated ritual purification, linking humans to water and cosmos. Others suggest defensive purposes, the canals acting as protective barriers against intruders. Fringe theories, fueled by the city's remoteness and massive stones, occasionally evoke tales of lost civilizations or extraordinary external influence. Yet, as with all such narratives, mainstream archaeology emphasizes observable evidence while acknowledging the limits of current understanding. What is clear is that Nan Madol was conceived with intention, skill, and a vision that extended far beyond ordinary settlement patterns. Even today, standing among the ruins, one can sense the echoes of human endeavor, the careful stacking of stone, the intricate design of canals, the silent testament of a culture capable of monumental achievement. The city seems both alive and deserted, whispering of political power, spiritual practice, and the persistence of human ingenuity against formidable natural challenges. The waters that surround it, once pathways for transport and connection, now reflect the sun and sky, framing the ruins in a surreal tableau of isolation and majesty. Nan Madol, like the Lake Michigan Stone Circle, the Lolladoff Plate, the Lintels of Yaxchilan, Pedra do Ingá, the Rhodope Skull, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, and the Lady of Dai, confronts us with questions that resist definitive answers. How did this city function? What knowledge and resources allowed its construction? Why was it abandoned, leaving only stone and legend? And what secrets remain submerged beneath its canals, waiting for patient eyes to uncover? The city endures as a monument to human curiosity, ambition, and mystery. It is a place where the line between history and legend blurs, where every stone and every canal invites reflection on the ingenuity of those who built it. And as we gaze upon non-Madol, we are reminded once more that the past holds enigmas that challenge, inspire, and provoke wonder. Enigmas that may never be fully solved, yet whose silent presence continues to speak to all who seek them. From the sunlit ruins of Micronesia's Nan Madol, our journey now takes us across the Pacific and back to the vast landscapes of East Asia to Zhejiang Province in eastern China. Here, carved into the earth with staggering precision, lie the Longyou Caves, a network of enormous, man-made subterranean chambers that defy conventional explanation. Hidden beneath the surface, these caverns are an extraordinary testament to human ambition, skill, and mystery. At first glance, the caves resemble natural formations, yet closer inspection reveals evidence of meticulous human design. The chambers stretch for hundreds of meters, each roof supported by massive columns and walls etched with parallel lines, seemingly cut with uniform strokes that have survived millennia. The scale is breathtaking. Some rooms exceed 30 meters in height, with stone floors so smooth they reflect light, as if polished intentionally. Walking among them, one is struck by a sense of both awe and disorientation, as the caverns twist and turn, interconnected by passages that seem to follow no immediately obvious plan. The Longyou Caves were first brought to modern attention in 1992, when local farmers stumbled upon their entrances while digging a pond. Since then, archaeologists have explored roughly 20 caves, though estimates suggest hundreds may lie hidden, undiscovered beneath the surface. The caves are made entirely from siltstone, a material surprisingly soft for carving yet durable over time. What remains astonishing is the sheer volume of rock removed. Conservative estimates suggest over 1 million cubic meters, a feat that would challenge even today's heavy machinery. Dating the caves has proven difficult. Carbon dating offers limited clues, while no inscriptions or artifacts have been found to indicate when or why the chambers were constructed. Some researchers suggest an origin during the Qin or Han dynasties, though others argue the caves may be far older, predating known records. Their purpose remains equally enigmatic. Were they quarries, storage chambers, ceremonial halls, or part of a long-forgotten urban plan? The uniformity, scale, and artistry of the work suggest intention beyond mere practicality. Every detail of the Longyou Caves raises questions. The walls are etched with parallel chisel marks, aligned with precision, yet the reason for this pattern is unknown. Some propose that the grooves were functional, reducing stress on the stone or aiding in construction. Others suggest symbolic or ritual significance, an aesthetic choice meant to convey order or power. The floors are exceptionally flat, with drainage systems carved to channel water, hinting at advanced engineering knowledge. What knowledge, lost to history, guided the hands that shaped these underground spaces? Speculation naturally emerges. Could the caves have served as ceremonial centers, hidden temples for esoteric rites? Were they defensive structures designed to protect communities from invasion or natural disaster? Or were they monumental projects commissioned by rulers seeking to demonstrate power and control over both labor and landscape? Fringe theories occasionally invoke lost civilizations or even extraterrestrial guidance, yet the most compelling evidence lies in the craftsmanship itself. Human hands, extraordinary skill, and extraordinary labor. The mystery is compounded by the absence of related surface structures. Unlike other ancient monumental works in China, which are often accompanied by temples, tombs, or settlements, the Longyou Caves appear isolated, as if the surface civilization that created them has vanished entirely. What prompted these ancient engineers to carve such massive subterranean halls without leaving a corresponding above-ground record? And why have these constructions been forgotten, lying silent for centuries until rediscovery in modern times? Exploring the caves evokes a profound sense of scale and time. The sound of footsteps echoes off high ceilings, light filtering in from entrances far above casts dramatic shadows across the uniform walls, and the chill of the underground air emphasizes the human presence amidst geological permanence. There is a sense of deliberate design that suggests not just technical expertise but a conceptual vision, an understanding of space, proportion, and perhaps even psychology. The caverns communicate order, power, and mystery simultaneously, yet leave no clear instructions for interpretation. Comparative studies highlight the uniqueness of Longyou. While underground structures exist worldwide, Egyptian tombs, South American caves, European quarries, none match the combination of scale, precision, and enigmatic purpose found here. The caves resist easy categorization, challenging assumptions about the capabilities of ancient peoples and their reasons for monumental construction. They compel us to reconsider what societies in ancient China were capable of, how knowledge was transmitted, and what might have been lost to time. Walking through Longyou today, one is confronted with both human ingenuity and enduring enigma. Every parallel line on the wall, every massive stone removed and placed elsewhere, every echo in the vast chambers is a reminder that the past contains acts of extraordinary labor and creativity, whose meaning we may never fully grasp. They are silent witnesses to a world we can glimpse but not completely know. The Longyou Caves, like Nan Madol, the Lake Michigan Stone Circle, the Lolladoff Plate, the Lintels of Yaxchilan, Pedra do Ingá, the Rhodope Skull, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, and the Lady of Dai confront us with the unknown. How were they built? Why? What knowledge and purpose guided their creators? And what has been lost to the passage of time? The answers remain tantalizingly out of reach, yet the caves continue to captivate, inviting reflection, study, and wonder. As we trace the contours of these subterranean halls, listening to the echoes and imagining the labor behind each chisel mark, we are reminded once more that human history is punctuated by mysteries, enormous, silent, and enduring. The Longyou Caves are not merely a feat of engineering. They are an invitation to contemplate the depth of human creativity, the persistence of the unknown, and the mysteries that continue to lie hidden beneath the surface of our world. From the subterranean grandeur of China's Longyou Caves, our journey now moves to the rolling hills and misty landscapes of Scotland, where an enigmatic artifact rests quietly in a valley near the village of Faifley, the Cochno Stone. Unlike towering ruins or subterranean chambers, this artifact lies flush with the earth, a massive slab of rock intricately carved with symbols, spirals, and cup marks that have puzzled historians, archaeologists, and visitors for over a century. Measuring approximately 55 feet long and 14 feet wide, the Cochno Stone is extraordinary in both scale and detail. Its surface is densely covered with hundreds of cup and ring marks, small circular depressions surrounded by concentric rings, alongside abstract shapes and linear patterns that twist and intertwine across the stone. At first glance, the carvings seem chaotic, yet the more one observes, the more a deliberate order emerges, as if the designs are conveying meaning in a symbolic language long forgotten. Sunlight casts shifting shadows across the undulating surface, animating the patterns and giving them a living, almost hypnotic quality. The Cochno Stone was first documented by archaeologist Alexander Thom in 1887 and later carefully studied in the 20th century. Radiocarbon dating of nearby sediments and associated artifacts places the carvings in the late Neolithic or early Bronze Age, around 3000 to 1500 BCE, yet their exact purpose remains elusive. Some scholars suggest they served a ceremonial or ritualistic role, perhaps representing cosmological beliefs or spiritual journeys. Others propose they were territorial markers, maps of the surrounding landscape or mnemonic devices for oral traditions. Despite decades of study, no single explanation has been universally accepted. What makes the Cochno Stone particularly compelling is its density and complexity. The carvings are tightly packed, leaving little empty space, suggesting that the stone was intended to hold a comprehensive message or set of symbols. The cup and ring marks themselves appear across prehistoric sites in Scotland and Western Europe, yet the Cochno Stone stands out for its sheer concentration and scale. The precision of some carvings, perfectly concentric rings, carefully measured distances between cup marks, suggests careful planning and skill, raising questions about the knowledge and techniques of its creators. The context of the stone adds layers of intrigue. It sits on a low hill overlooking the surrounding landscape, providing clear sight lines to other prominent geographic features. Could this placement have been intentional, aligning with solar or lunar events, or serving as a point of orientation for rituals and seasonal observations? Some researchers argue that the carvings may encode astronomical knowledge, marking solstices, equinoxes, or star positions. Others suggest a symbolic or religious function, connecting the earthly realm to spiritual or celestial forces. The Cochno Stone also raises questions about the society that produced it. What cultural, technological, and organizational structures were necessary to conceive and execute such a project? The labor involved, the planning, and the vision imply a society with both social cohesion and spiritual motivation, capable of translating abstract thought into permanent stone. Yet, despite its apparent importance, the Cochno Stone was buried deliberately in 1965 to protect it from vandalism, adding another layer of mystery. Why, centuries later, did modern humans feel compelled to hide it, rather than celebrate or study it? Speculation continues to capture the imagination. Some see the carvings as an early form of communication or symbolic language, a proto-writing system waiting to be decoded. Others suggest the patterns might represent water, rivers, or topographical features, a detailed map of the prehistoric landscape. Fringe theories occasionally propose connections to lost civilizations or otherworldly knowledge, though mainstream archaeology remains cautious, emphasizing evidence and context over conjecture. Yet, the stone's enigmatic beauty and meticulous design naturally invite these imaginative interpretations. Comparisons with other megalithic sites highlight the Cochno Stone's uniqueness. While cup and ring marks appear in various locations across Europe, few exhibit the concentration, clarity, and scale of this site. Unlike isolated symbols elsewhere, the Cochno Stone forms a dense, continuous tapestry of carvings, suggesting a singular vision, possibly the work of a dedicated community over generations. Its patterns convey both complexity and intentionality, speaking silently across millennia. Today, the Cochno Stone is partially reburied, its full surface hidden beneath protective soil, yet its legacy endures through photographs, tracings, and studies conducted before its concealment. Scholars and enthusiasts alike are drawn to its surface, pondering the purpose, meaning, and skill embedded in each cup, ring, and line. How were these designs conceived? What knowledge did their creators possess? And what cultural or spiritual significance motivated such intricate work? Standing metaphorically before the Cochno Stone, one senses both the familiarity and mystery of human endeavor, a desire to leave a mark, to communicate across generations, to encode knowledge, ritual, and belief in a medium designed to endure. Like the Longyou Caves, Madol, the Lake Michigan Stone Circle, the Lolladoff Plate, the Lintels of Yaxchilan, Pedra do Ingá, the Rhodope skull, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, and the Lady of Dai, the Cochno Stone reminds us that history is punctuated with wonders that defy easy explanation. We are left to wonder, what stories did these carvings tell to the people who made them? What knowledge, ritual, or vision has been lost to time, leaving only a stone etched with enduring mystery? And what can this ancient canvas teach us about the minds and lives of those who walked the Scottish hills thousands of years ago? The Cochno Stone endures as a quiet, monumental puzzle. Its spirals, cups, and lines invite contemplation, offering a tangible connection to a distant past, a window into thought, creativity, and belief that continues to elude complete understanding. It is a reminder that some mysteries, no matter how carefully examined, remain profoundly alive, inviting each new generation to observe, reflect, and wonder. From the misty hills of Scotland and the carved expanse of the Cochno Stone, our exploration now carries us southeast to the rolling plains and river valleys of Romania. Here, in 1961, a discovery was made near the village of Tartaria that would intrigue and perplex scholars for decades. The Tartaria Tablets, small clay artifacts inscribed with symbols unlike any previously documented. These tablets, modest in size yet monumental in implication, are among the earliest known examples of written markings in Europe, yet their meaning remains tantalizingly elusive. The tablets themselves are unassuming at first glance, each measuring just a few centimeters across, rectangular in shape, with carefully incised symbols etched into their surfaces. The markings consist of linear signs, geometric patterns, and repetitive motifs that suggest an intentional, organized system of communication. The precision of each stroke, the apparent structure of the symbols, and their repetition across multiple tablets imply more than mere decoration. They hint at a coded language, a record, or a symbolic system whose purpose has been lost to time. The Tartaria site was originally excavated as part of a larger Neolithic settlement associated with the Vinca culture, which thrived along the Danube River around 5,500 to 5,300 BCE. Carbon dating of surrounding layers confirms the age of the tablets, making them among the oldest known inscribed artifacts in Europe. Yet, unlike cuneiform in Mesopotamia or hieroglyphs in Egypt, the Tartaria symbols do not correspond to any known writing system, and their linguistic or numerical significance remains unresolved. The sheer antiquity of these markings challenges conventional timelines of literacy and symbolic thought in prehistoric Europe. What purpose might these tablets have served? Some scholars propose that they were accounting tools, primitive ledgers recording trade, livestock, or agricultural yields. Others argue for a ritual or religious function, suggesting the symbols represent prayers, talismans, or encoded cosmological knowledge. The repetitive nature of certain signs could indicate a proto-writing system, an early attempt to capture complex ideas symbolically rather than phonetically. Yet, despite extensive study, no consensus has emerged. Each new interpretation seems as plausible as it is uncertain. The tablet's discovery raises additional questions about the society that produced them. The Vinca culture, known for its advanced pottery, figurines, and organized settlements, demonstrates remarkable sophistication for its era. The Tartaria Tablets, with their deliberate, precise markings, reinforce the notion of a people capable of abstract thought and symbolic expression. Could these small clay objects represent the earliest seeds of written communication in Europe, predating similar developments elsewhere by centuries? If so, what knowledge, customs, or beliefs were encoded within them, now lost to the ages? Intriguingly, the symbols bear a faint resemblance to markings found across the broader Vinca region, yet no single system emerges consistently. This suggests either a regional variation of symbolic practice or a collection of isolated proto-writing experiments. Some researchers have speculated that these symbols may even represent numerical, calendrical, or astronomical data, though the evidence remains circumstantial. The tablets themselves provide no explanatory key, and their small, fragile form leaves little room for direct comparison to larger architectural or monumental inscriptions. Speculative theories abound, fueled by the tablets' age, obscurity, and apparent sophistication. Some propose that they reflect a lost European civilization with knowledge advanced for its time, whose legacy was largely erased by the passage of millennia. Others suggest connections to later writing systems, viewing the Tartaria inscriptions as precursors to organized scripts, hinting at a continuum of symbolic development across the continent. Fringe theories occasionally invoke contact with unknown cultures or even extraterrestrial influence, though such ideas remain outside mainstream scholarship. Yet the allure of the tablets is precisely this ambiguity, their ability to provoke thought, debate, and wonder. The discovery context adds further layers of intrigue. The tablets were found amidst domestic and ritual structures, near storage pits and hearths, suggesting integration into daily life or ceremonial practice. Unlike monumental inscriptions elsewhere, these small objects intimate a personal or communal function intended to be handled, read, or displayed in ways now beyond our comprehension. How were these symbols learned, taught, or interpreted? Did each mark carry a standardized meaning, or were they understood contextually within a local tradition, now lost? As we examine the Tartaria Tablets, one is struck by the human desire to communicate, to record, and to encode meaning. These artifacts are tangible connections to minds separated from us by more than 7 millennia, yet their intentions remain ghostly, whispered through incised lines in clay. Each stroke is a testament to thought, creativity, and perhaps even the beginnings of literacy, a silent dialogue across time that invites reflection, interpretation, and humility. The Tartaria Tablets, like the Cochno Stone, the Longyou Caves, Madol, the Lake Michigan Stone Circle, the Lolladoff Plate, the Lintels of Yaxchilan, Pedra do Ingá, the Rhodope Skull, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, and the Lady of Dai confront us with the profound mysteries of human history. They remind us that the urge to create, to record, and to communicate is timeless, and that some of the earliest traces of that impulse remain undeciphered, tantalizing, and enduring. We are left to wonder, what messages did the Tartaria Tablets convey to their original audience? What knowledge, rituals, or stories were encoded in these minute clay surfaces? And what other artifacts, perhaps still buried beneath the earth, might hold keys to understanding the dawn of symbolic thought in Europe? These small, fragile tablets endure as silent witnesses to a civilization that anticipated writing, symbol, and meaning. They invite us to imagine a world in which humans reached toward abstraction, leaving traces that continue to challenge and inspire those who study them millennia later. The mystery of the Tartaria Tablets persists, urging reflection, contemplation, and a deep appreciation for the enduring enigma of the past. From the rolling plains of Romania and the intricate symbols of the Tartaria Tablets, our journey now moves across continents and oceans to the arid, windswept landscapes of northern Chile. Here, etched into the plateau of the Atacama Desert, stretches one of the largest prehistoric anthropomorphic figures in the world, the Atacama Giant. Towering nearly 119 meters in length, this geoglyph gazes over the desert like a silent sentinel, a monumental testimony to human creativity and enigma. The figure is carved directly into the desert floor, a product of removing the darker stones of the surface to reveal the lighter soil beneath. From ground level, the Atacama Giant may appear abstract or indistinct, yet viewed from elevated points, or even imagined in aerial perspective, it reveals a humanoid form, arms akimbo, adorned with what appear to be elaborate headgear or ceremonial markings. Surrounding it are smaller geoglyphs and lines, forming a complex network that suggests a broader symbolic or cultural landscape. The dry, stable environment of the Atacama has preserved these lines for centuries, offering a window into a past civilization whose presence is otherwise sparsely documented. Archaeologists date the Atacama Giant to between 1000 and 1400 CE, during the era of the pre-Inca cultures inhabiting the region. The figure's immense scale and precision required remarkable planning and coordination, suggesting not only technical skill but also a societal framework capable of organizing labor across a large area. The construction method itself, arranging stones and clearing paths across an uneven, expansive terrain, remains a subject of study and admiration. How did these ancient peoples envision such a massive form without the benefit of aerial perspective? How did they ensure symmetry and proportion over more than 100 meters? The purpose of the Atacama Giant remains deeply mysterious. Many scholars propose that it functioned as an astronomical calendar, aligned with the solstices, lunar cycles, or other celestial events, its posture and positioning marking the passage of time for agricultural, ceremonial, or spiritual purposes. The figure's prominent gaze and symbolic adornments could also imply a protective or religious function, serving as a guardian of the desert plateau, watching over travelers and local communities. Yet, despite extensive research, no written records accompany the geoglyph to confirm any interpretation. The surrounding context adds further layers of intrigue. Smaller geoglyphs nearby form patterns of animals, abstract shapes, and additional humanoid figures, suggesting that the Atacama Giant may have been part of a broader symbolic or ritual network. These patterns may encode mythological narratives, social hierarchies, or territorial markers, yet their exact meaning remains unresolved. Some researchers argue that the geoglyphs reflect cosmological knowledge, a way for ancient cultures to map the heavens onto the earth itself, translating the movements of the sun, moon, and stars into tangible, terrestrial forms. The sheer scale of the Atacama Giant invites awe. At nearly the length of a modern football field, the figure challenges our understanding of pre-Columbian surveying and spatial reasoning. Without modern tools, how did its creators conceive and execute such a monumental design? Did they use ropes, grids, or iterative measurement techniques? Or did the figure emerge from generations of observation, cultural memory, and communal effort, refined over decades or even centuries? These questions underscore the sophistication of a culture whose physical traces in the desert seem almost ephemeral, yet endure through their sheer magnitude. Speculation and fascination naturally surround the site. Some theorists suggest that the Atacama Giant may be linked to ritualistic or shamanic practices, representing deities, celestial beings, or ancestral spirits. Others propose that the figure functioned as a territorial emblem, signaling presence and power across the desert plateau. Fringe theories occasionally evoke extraterrestrial guidance or lost civilizations, yet the strongest evidence remains grounded in human ingenuity, observation, and symbolic expression. It is the combination of scale, design, and enduring mystery that continues to captivate scholars and visitors alike. Comparisons with other geoglyphs, such as the Nazca lines further north in Peru, illuminate both similarities and distinctions. While both feature massive figures carved into desert landscapes, the Atacama Giant is unique in its humanoid form and potential astronomical functions. Its integration into a broader landscape of smaller carvings suggests a sophisticated system of cultural expression, one that is both functional and symbolic, intimate and monumental. Unlike many structures built for defense or habitation, the Atacama Giant's presence is designed for observation, reflection, and perhaps awe, a silent dialogue across centuries. Today, the figure endures as a fragile yet monumental testament to human creativity. Erosion, modern activity, and natural weathering threaten its preservation, yet it continues to speak to the ingenuity of the people who created it. Standing on the plateau, imagining the hands and minds that planned, cleared, and shaped this massive figure, one is struck by a sense of connection across time. The Atacama Giant challenges us to consider the capacity for imagination, organization, and spiritual expression in cultures separated from us by centuries. The Atacama Giant, like the Tartaria Tablets, the Cochno Stone, the Longyou Caves, Madol, the Lake Michigan Stone Circle, the Lolladoff Plate, the Lintels of Yaxchilan, Pedra do Ingá, the Rhodope Skull, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, and the Lady of Dai confronts us with the enduring mystery of human history. It raises profound questions. What meaning did this figure hold for the people who created it? What knowledge and observation guided its construction? And what secrets of culture, ritual, or astronomy might remain encoded in its lines, awaiting discovery? The Atacama Giant stands as both an enigma and a monument, a sentinel carved from the earth itself. It invites contemplation, urging us to reflect on human ingenuity, the persistence of symbolic thought, and the mysteries that continue to lie hidden across our planet. And as the desert winds whisper across its surface, one cannot help but wonder what other extraordinary expressions of human curiosity and creativity remain etched into the landscapes of history, waiting for patient eyes to uncover them. From the windswept deserts of northern Chile and the monumental Atacama Giant, our journey now carries us across continents once more, to the high plains of Mpumalanga in South Africa. Here, nestled among rolling hills and rocky outcrops, lies a site that has intrigued researchers and travelers alike. Adam's Calendar, an arrangement of massive weathered stones aligned in patterns that seem to echo the movements of the sun and the cycles of the seasons. Often referred to as the African Stonehenge, this enigmatic site offers a glimpse into a prehistoric world whose intentions remain largely unknown. At first glance, Adam's Calendar appears deceptively simple. Flat-topped stones of varying sizes, some standing upright, others inclined or partially toppled, arranged across the plateau with subtle but deliberate orientation. Yet even a cursory survey reveals meticulous placement. Certain stones align with the sunrise and sunset at solstices, casting long shadows across the ground, while others correspond to lunar phases or star positions. The careful positioning suggests that the builders possessed a profound understanding of astronomy, an awareness of cycles and rhythms that governed both nature and human life. Dating the site has proven difficult. Mainstream archaeological estimates suggest an age of 2,000 to 3,000 years, situating Adam's Calendar within the broader context of Southern African Iron Age cultures. However, some researchers, drawing on erosion patterns, geological studies, and comparative analysis, argue that parts of the site may be much older, possibly 75,000 years or more. If true, this would position Adam's Calendar as one of the oldest known man-made structures on Earth, predating other megalithic sites and challenging conventional timelines of human civilization. The purpose of the site remains a topic of lively debate. Some suggest Adam's Calendar functioned as a solar observatory, used to track seasons for agricultural, ceremonial, or ritual purposes. Others propose that it was a sacred site, a locus for spiritual gatherings, initiation rites, or cosmological observation. The orientation of stones, combined with the apparent symmetry and spatial logic, points to a culture with sophisticated observational skills and symbolic thinking. Yet, without written records or definitive artifacts, the intentions of the builders remain speculative. The stones themselves are striking in both form and scale. Some rise over 3 meters, their surfaces worn by millennia of wind and rain, their edges rounded yet intentional, hinting at labor-intensive shaping. Archaeologists have noted the absence of mortar or modern binding techniques. The stones rely entirely on careful placement and gravity for stability. How were these massive stones moved across the plateau? How did the builders conceive of such alignments without aerial perspective, surveying instruments, or modern tools? The answers remain elusive, prompting questions about knowledge and skill lost to time. Local folklore adds another layer of intrigue. Oral traditions speak of ancient people, sometimes described as giants or spiritual beings, who marked the landscape with these stones, leaving a record for future generations. Some interpretations suggest that Adam's calendar represents a memory of a global catastrophe, a sacred archive of astronomical and environmental knowledge encoded in stone. Could these stories preserve fragments of truth, a cultural echo of events and understanding now obscured by millennia? Speculative theories naturally emerge. Some researchers propose that the site served as a ceremonial calendar, marking solstices, equinoxes, and other celestial events for ritual purposes. Others suggest that Adam's calendar may be a remnant of a lost civilization, predating known human societies in the region. Fringe theories occasionally invoke connections to extraterrestrial influence, positing that the precision and alignment of the stones surpass what would have been possible for prehistoric humans. Yet, the most compelling explanation may simply lie in human ingenuity. An early people, observant, deliberate, and deeply connected to the sky above, translating cosmic rhythms into enduring stone patterns. Comparisons with other megalithic sites, such as Stonehenge in England, the Nazca Lines in Peru, or the Atacama Giant, highlight Adam's calendar's uniqueness. Unlike isolated sculptures or geoglyphs, it integrates natural topography with human construction, merging observation, symbolism, and environment. The plateau itself becomes part of the design, the undulating terrain guiding placement, orientation, and spatial relationships. The site is both monumental and intimate, inviting observation, reflection, and interaction. Exploring Adam's calendar today, one senses the weight of history and the passage of time. The stones, worn and weathered, remain resolute against the elements, their silent presence suggesting continuity, observation, and memory. As sunlight shifts across the plateau, shadows dance along alignments, revealing patterns that may have guided rituals, agricultural cycles, or cosmic interpretation. One can almost imagine the builders, standing among the stones, attuned to the sun, moon, and stars, orchestrating the land with a vision that endures millennia later. Adam's calendar, like the Atacama Giant, the Tartaria Tablets, the Cochno Stone, the Longyou Caves, Madol, the Lake Michigan Stone Circle, the Lolladoff Plate, the Lintels of Yaxchilan, Pedra do Ingá, the Rhodope Skull, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, and the Lady of Dai, confronts us with profound questions. Who built these stones? Why were they aligned so meticulously to the heavens? What knowledge, observation, and cultural intent guided their placement, and what secrets have been lost to time? The site endures as both a monument and a mystery. Its stones are more than relics. They are a testament to human curiosity, observation, and symbolic expression. Adam's calendar invites us to reflect on the ingenuity of ancient peoples, the persistence of cultural memory, and the mysteries that continue to lie hidden in landscapes around the world. And as we stand upon this South African plateau, watching sunlight illuminate patterns carved into stone, we are reminded that the past is never truly silent, and that some questions, no matter how ancient, remain profoundly alive, waiting for discovery, interpretation, and wonder. From the high plains of South Africa and the enigmatic stones of Adam's calendar, our journey now turns northeast, across continents and landscapes, to the arid mountains of the Tibetan Plateau in China. Here, near the remote and tranquil waters of Mount Baigong, lie an extraordinary collection of objects that have perplexed researchers for decades: the Baigong Pipes. Embedded in rocks and scattered across the surrounding cliffs, these pipe-like formations hint at engineering, knowledge, and intentions that continue to challenge our understanding of ancient human capabilities. At first glance, the pipes resemble ordinary mineral formations, naturally weathered and fractured by time. Yet closer inspection reveals features that suggest deliberate structure. They are hollow, cylindrical, and in many cases emerge from large stones in perfectly straight lines, some stretching several meters. The most prominent cluster appears near Cave 1, where hundreds of pipes protrude from the rock face like the remnants of an underground plumbing system, converging toward the shore of a small, serene lake. Some pipes are fused to the surrounding rock, while others appear to branch and interconnect in seemingly intentional patterns, creating a network that invites observation, study, and speculation. Scientific analysis has yielded puzzling results. Laboratory tests indicate that the pipes are composed primarily of iron, silicon dioxide, and calcium oxide, with some suggesting traces of rusted metallic material. Carbon dating of nearby organic deposits suggests that the pipes could be as old as 150,000 years, predating known civilizations in the region by a wide margin. If these estimates are accurate, the Baigong Pipes represent an engineering feat far beyond what conventional history attributes to prehistoric humans. How could such objects have been fabricated, and for what purpose, at a time when metallurgy and large-scale construction were believed to be nascent or non-existent? Mainstream explanations propose that the formations may be geological in origin, resulting from natural mineralization, volcanic activity, or the fossilization of tree roots over millennia. Indeed, the pipe's appearance and hollow structure can sometimes be mimicked by natural processes under particular conditions. Yet the scale, alignment, and distribution of the pipes, combined with their partial embedding in solid rock, leave lingering doubts. Certain pipes form precise angles, intersect other pipes in complex configurations, and converge toward the lake in ways that suggest intentional design rather than random geological happenstance. Speculative interpretations abound. Some researchers argue that the Baigong Pipes are remnants of a forgotten civilization, evidence of a culture capable of sophisticated metallurgy and structural planning long before recognized historical timelines. Others suggest a functional purpose, perhaps an ancient water system, a form of mineral extraction, or a ceremonial or symbolic network. Fringe theories occasionally propose extraterrestrial involvement, citing the pipe's age, metallic composition, and apparent precision. While these ideas are controversial, they underscore the profound challenge the Baigong Pipes present to our understanding of prehistory and human ingenuity. The surrounding environment reinforces the sense of mystery. The remote mountains, sparse vegetation, and jagged cliffs make the site difficult to access, which may explain why the pipes have remained largely unstudied for much of modern history. Locals have long considered the area sacred or haunted, recounting stories of strange sounds emanating from the rocks and unusual shapes glimpsed from the mountain paths. The lake near Cave 1, reflecting the towering peaks and the jutting iron-like pipes, creates a surreal, almost otherworldly scene, as though the natural and artificial worlds have been fused together in a deliberate tableau. The Baigong Pipes also raise questions about ancient knowledge and skill. Their cylindrical form and hollow interiors suggest advanced understanding of shaping materials, while the way many pipes are embedded in rock hints at techniques that challenge conventional archaeological expectations. Could prehistoric humans have harnessed natural minerals to construct functional devices? Did they possess knowledge of metallurgy and engineering that was later lost to history? Or might natural processes have coincidentally produced forms that imitate human ingenuity so convincingly that we are compelled to see intention where none exists? Comparisons with other enigmatic constructions, such as the Longyou Caves or Adam's Calendar, highlight recurring themes in human history. Extraordinary feats of labor and observation, the interplay of nature and culture, and enduring mysteries that defy conventional explanation. Like these sites, the Baigong Pipes invite reflection, challenging assumptions about what our ancestors were capable of and how much of their knowledge may have been lost through time. They ask us to consider the possibility that the past is more complex, more layered, and more technologically diverse than conventional narratives suggest. Visiting the Baigong Pipes today is an exercise in both awe and contemplation. The air is crisp and dry, the surrounding mountains imposing, and the pipes themselves exude a quiet, almost eerie presence. As one examines their hollow forms, their branching patterns, and their convergence upon the lake, it is impossible not to speculate about the minds that shaped them, or the processes that allowed them to form, and the ancient history that remains hidden beneath layers of stone, soil, and time. The Baigong Pipes, like Adam's Calendar, the Atacama Giant, the Tartaria Tablets, the Cochno Stone, the Longyou Caves, Madol, the Lake Michigan Stone Circle, the Lolladoff Plate, the Lintels of Yaxchilan, Pedra do Ingá, the Rhodope Skull, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, and the Lady of Dai, confront us with a profound tension between what we know and what remains hidden. They remind us that human history, and perhaps the history of our planet, is punctuated by enigmas, traces of knowledge, skill, and vision that may have been lost, obscured, or forgotten. Standing before these weathered, metallic cylinders, one cannot help but ask, how were they formed? For what purpose? And what knowledge, either human or otherwise, lies encoded within their placement and construction, waiting to be understood? The Baigong Pipes endure as silent witnesses to the mysteries of the past, inviting us to contemplate the ingenuity of the world's earliest observers, builders, and dreamers, and to wonder what other secrets may yet be hidden, quietly waiting to be discovered beneath the stones and mountains of our planet. From the remote mountains of China and the enigmatic Baigong Pipes, our journey now leads us to the sun-drenched Mediterranean archipelago of Malta, where beneath the surface of the island lies a subterranean marvel that continues to astonish archaeologists, acousticians, and visitors alike. The Hal Saflieni Hypogeum. Carved entirely from limestone, this multi-level underground complex is not merely a tomb or a dwelling. It is a carefully designed labyrinth of chambers, passages, and niches whose construction and purpose remain deeply mysterious. Among its most enigmatic features is what scholars have termed the resonance chamber, a space whose acoustic properties are as striking as its age. Descending into the Hypogeum, one is immediately struck by the sensation of entering another world. The air grows cool and damp. The walls close in with a subtle organic curvature, and every surface, from the sweeping archways to the carved niches, carries the imprint of meticulous craftsmanship. The limestone resonates under footsteps or a spoken word, amplifying sound in a manner that seems almost unnatural. It is within the upper chamber, the resonance chamber, that this phenomenon is most pronounced. A single clap, a whisper, or a hum produces vibrations that echo throughout the subterranean complex, suggesting a level of acoustic understanding that continues to astonish modern scientists. Carbon dating and stratigraphic analysis place the Hypogeum's construction at approximately 3,600 to 2,500 BCE, making it older than the pyramids of Giza. The sophistication required to carve multiple levels of chambers with precise measurements and intentional curvature speaks to a society capable of advanced engineering, spatial planning, and ceremonial foresight. Yet the exact reason for these chambers, particularly the resonance chamber, remains elusive. Were the vibrations harnessed for ritual, healing, or spiritual purposes? Did the builders understand the psychological impact of sound on the human mind? Or was it an accidental byproduct of architectural choices? Archaeologists have uncovered thousands of human remains within the Hypogeum, including infants, adults, and elders, indicating its use as an acropolis over centuries. But the resonance chamber stands apart. Experiments have shown that specific frequencies, particularly in the 110 to 120 Hz range, trigger intense vibrational resonance, seemingly affecting the brain and body of those within. Could ancient people have discovered, through trial and observation, that certain sounds produced altered states of consciousness, enhancing spiritual or ritual experiences? The idea is tantalizing, yet no written records remain to confirm such practices. The chamber's design raises further questions. The ceilings and walls are smoothly carved, creating shapes that naturally amplify and focus sound. The narrow passages leading to the chamber suggest a controlled movement of participants, perhaps guiding them to experience a sound-induced transformation in a precise location. Was this purely symbolic, a way to manipulate perception and attention, or was it an integral part of a religious or communal rite? The Hypogeum's builders have left us no explicit clues, only the stone and its extraordinary acoustics. Speculative interpretations abound. Some suggest that the resonance chamber was used for meditation, trance induction, or ceremonial chanting, providing a link between the physical and spiritual worlds. Others theorize that it may have functioned as an ancient observatory of sorts, not for celestial bodies, but for vibrations, frequencies, and resonance, a tangible exploration of phenomena we are only beginning to understand scientifically. Fringe ideas occasionally suggest that the chamber preserves knowledge from a lost civilization or even extraterrestrial influence, yet the most compelling explanations remain grounded in human ingenuity and empirical observation. The Hypogeum resonates not only acoustically but symbolically. It bridges the gap between material culture and immaterial experience, creating a space that engages multiple senses simultaneously. Unlike megalithic sites such as Adam's Calendar, the Atacama Giant, or the Baigong Pipes, this mystery is not only visual but corporeal. The stone itself speaks, transmitting sound waves that travel through the air and stone alike, inviting reflection, awareness, and participation. It is a dialogue across millennia, where the past communicates through vibration rather than inscription. The subterranean environment adds another dimension of wonder. The labyrinthine chambers, carved entirely from native limestone, demonstrate an intimate knowledge of the material's properties, hardness, resonance, and durability. The builders sculpted the rock with precision, creating smooth walls and concave surfaces that interact with light and sound. How did a Neolithic society achieve such exacting detail without metal tools as we know them? Could the acoustic properties have guided the very shaping of the chambers, suggesting a synthesis of engineering, art, and spiritual insight? Comparisons with other enigmatic sites worldwide, from the Baigong Pipes to the Longyou Caves and the Cochno Stone, emphasize recurring patterns in human history, extraordinary labor, deliberate placement, and enduring mystery. In each, we encounter evidence of observation, experimentation, and sophisticated thought, yet always with questions unanswered. The resonance chamber embodies this pattern, combining tactile experience, sound, and architecture in a way that seems intentionally transformative, a human attempt to interact with both matter and mind. As we explore the Hypogeum today, standing in the dimly lit chamber and feeling the reverberation of even the softest sound, one is struck by both the skill and the imagination of its creators. This is a place designed to evoke awe, contemplation, and perhaps even transcendence. A space where human perception becomes part of the architecture, where the boundary between observer and environment blurs. The Hypogeum resonance chamber, like the Baigong Pipes, Adam's calendar, the Atacama Giant, the Tartaria Tablets, the Cochno Stone, the Longyou Caves, Madol, the Lake Michigan Stone Circle, the Lolladoff Plate, the Lintels of Yaxchilan, Pedra do Ingá, the Rhodope skull, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, and the Lady of Dai confronts us with enduring mysteries of human history. It compels us to ask, what inspired the Neolithic builders to manipulate sound so deliberately? What experiences, beliefs, or knowledge were encoded in these chambers? And what other marvels, hidden beneath the earth or the sands of time, await discovery by those willing to listen closely to the echoes of the past? The resonance chamber endures, a silent witness to ingenuity, ritual, and human curiosity. Its reverberations remind us that some mysteries are felt as much as they are seen, an invitation to wonder, contemplate, and listen to the subtle, persistent voice of history itself. From the subterranean marvels of Malta and the Hypogeum resonance chamber, our journey now moves to the rolling hills of southern England, where a striking figure has watched over the landscape for millennia, the Uffington White Horse. Etched into the steep slopes of White Horse Hill in Oxfordshire, this elongated, stylized equine stretches nearly 110 meters from nose to tail, its chalky form gleaming against the verdant hillside. Viewed from the valley below, it appears as an abstract silhouette. Only from a distant or elevated perspective does its graceful, flowing shape fully emerge. The origins of the Uffington White Horse are rooted deep in prehistory. Archaeological investigations, including radiocarbon dating of associated deposits, place its creation around 1400 BCE during the Late Bronze Age, making it older than Stonehenge's most iconic constructions. Yet, despite its considerable age, the figure remains remarkably well preserved, periodically maintained by generations of locals through a tradition known as scouring, in which the chalk is cleared and renewed to prevent overgrowth. The enduring presence of the White Horse raises questions about the cultural and symbolic priorities of the society that first carved it, and what it meant to those who came after. The technique used to create the figure is deceptively simple, yet profoundly effective. Builders cut trenches into the hillside, filling them with chalk to create a bright contrast with the surrounding soil. The design itself, with its elongated legs, angular snout, and flowing form, is abstract, lacking the naturalistic detail we might expect from a modern depiction of a horse. This abstraction has fueled debate over whether the figure was intended as a literal representation, a symbolic emblem, or a mythological or spiritual marker. Was it a tribute to a revered animal, a totem of tribal identity, or a cosmic symbol connected to celestial or seasonal cycles? Scholars have long noted the White Horse's relationship to its surroundings. The figure occupies a prominent ridge, visible across miles of the Vale of White Horse, overlooking pathways, rivers, and settlements. Its placement suggests a deliberate engagement with landscape, perception, and perhaps ritual. Could the figure have functioned as a territorial marker, signaling ownership or stewardship of land to neighboring tribes? Or was it designed for ceremonial or spiritual purposes, a visual conduit connecting the earth to the sky, or the living to the ancestral? The Uffington White Horse also exhibits intriguing connections to other prehistoric sites. Nearby lies Uffington Castle, an Iron Age hill fort, and within the surrounding landscape are Neolithic burial mounds and ritual sites, suggesting that the area was of enduring spiritual and strategic significance. Some researchers propose that the horse itself was part of a broader network of symbolic markers, designed to guide movement, ritual, or observation across the terrain. Its abstract form may have encoded knowledge or beliefs now lost, a visual language understood by a culture whose conventions remain mysterious to us. Speculation naturally arises when considering the figure's design and function. Some theorists suggest the horse represents a solar deity or a cosmic force, its elongated body a reflection of celestial patterns, its position on the ridge aligned with solar and lunar events. Others propose that it marks sacred pathways or pilgrimage routes, a silent guide across the hills for those attuned to its symbolic resonance. Fringe interpretations occasionally invoke connections to lost civilizations, pre-Bronze Age astronomical knowledge, or even extraterrestrial influence. Yet the strongest evidence emphasizes human observation, creativity, and symbolic expression, a society translating worldview, ritual, and identity into the enduring medium of the land itself. The scale and visibility of the Uffington White Horse amplify its enigmatic power. At nearly 110 meters in length, the figure required precise planning, communal effort, and sustained maintenance over generations. How did Bronze Age communities conceive of such a monumental image without aerial perspective? How were proportions maintained along the steep slope? Was the design passed down orally through generations of apprenticeship or guided by observation, experimentation, and cultural memory? These questions underscore the sophistication of a people whose material culture in other domains is far less visible yet equally impressive. Walking the ridge today, one senses the deliberate interplay of light, shadow, and perspective. The chalk gleams in sunlight, recedes under clouded skies, and transforms with the seasons. Viewed from afar, the figure seems almost alive, a flowing silhouette frozen in time, an abstract expression of movement captured on a hillside. It is simultaneously monumental and intimate, a symbol both of human presence and of something larger, something connecting people, landscape, and cosmos in a shared, enduring vision. The Uffington White Horse, like the Hypogeum Resonance Chamber, the Baigong Pipes, Adam's Calendar, the Atacama Giant, the Tartaria Tablets, the Cochno Stone, the Longyou Caves, Madol, the Lake Michigan Stone Circle, the Lolladoff Plate, the Lintels of Yaxchilan, Pedra do Ingá, the Rhodope Skull, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, and the Lady of Dai challenges our understanding of human history. It compels us to ask, what beliefs, skills, and knowledge were encoded in this chalked silhouette? How did ancient peoples perceive and manipulate landscape, memory, and symbol to convey meaning across generations? And what other traces of human creativity and observation remain hidden, awaiting rediscovery in the hills, deserts, mountains, and caves of our world? The White Horse endures, a luminous, abstract guardian of the landscape. Its presence reminds us that human ingenuity has long been intertwined with observation, symbolism, and environment. It invites contemplation, reflection, and wonder, prompting us to look not only at what is visible in the world today, but at the invisible currents of knowledge, ritual, and imagination that shaped the minds of those who came before, and continue to echo through the stones and hills of history. From the rolling chalk hills of southern England and the timeless silhouette of the Uffington White Horse, our journey now transports us across the Atlantic to the arid coastal plains of Peru, where one of the oldest known urban centers in the Americas quietly endures, the ancient city of Caral. Situated in the Supe Valley, approximately 200 kilometers north of modern Lima, Caral rises from the desert sands as a testament to ingenuity, organization, and early urban planning. Its pyramidal mounds, sunken plazas, and orderly streets speak of a civilization that flourished more than 5,000 years ago, contemporaneous with the earliest cities of Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley. Walking among the ruins, one is immediately struck by the scale and precision of construction. Massive stone and adobe platforms rise from the valley floor, some reaching heights of over 18 meters. The structures are arranged with deliberate symmetry, forming sunken circular plazas surrounded by ceremonial pyramids and residential terraces. These features suggest not only a sophisticated understanding of architecture and urban planning, but also a society deeply attuned to ritual, hierarchy, and the integration of daily life with ceremonial observance. Caral's discovery in the late 20th century challenged long-held assumptions about the emergence of civilization in the Americas. Unlike later Andean cultures, such as the Inca, Caral shows little evidence of defensive structures or warfare. Instead, the city appears to have been a hub of trade, culture, and communal ritual. Artifacts recovered from the site, quartz flutes, reed instruments, intricately woven textiles, and simple yet elegant tools, point to a society that valued artistry, sound, and craftsmanship as integral to its communal and ceremonial life. One of Caral's most compelling features is its pyramidal structures. Unlike the steep, towering pyramids of Egypt or Mesoamerica, these are broad, terraced platforms constructed with alternating layers of stone and adobe. Their deliberate orientation along the valley and toward distant peaks suggests a nuanced understanding of astronomy and geography. Could these pyramids have functioned as ceremonial stages, observatories, or symbolic representations of cosmic order? And if so, what knowledge guided the builders, and how was it transmitted across generations without written language? The scale of Caral also implies a high degree of social organization. Coordinating labor, material acquisition, and construction on such a scale would have required leadership, planning, and communal cooperation. Yet, paradoxically, there is little evidence of monumental sculpture, fortifications, or written records, leaving us to wonder how power, culture, and information were managed. Were the leaders primarily spiritual figures, guiding ritual and communal life? Or did political structures exist alongside ceremonial hierarchies in ways that are now invisible to archaeology? Speculative interpretations of Caral extend to its role in early knowledge systems. The city's layout, with its pyramids, plazas, and stairways, may encode astronomical observations, seasonal cycles, or calendrical information. Some researchers have suggested that certain structures align with solstices or equinoxes, providing a functional record of celestial patterns critical to agricultural planning. Others propose that sound and resonance were intentionally harnessed. Instruments such as flutes and reed pipes found at the site may have been used in ceremonial contexts, their tones amplified by the architecture to create immersive ritual experiences. The absence of fortifications and evidence of conflict, combined with the sophistication of Caral's design, raises profound questions about the nature of its society. How did it achieve stability, organization, and longevity without armies or defensive walls? Could Caral represent a model of early civilization focused primarily on trade, ritual, and communal identity rather than conquest? And if so, what lessons might its existence offer about the origins of social complexity and the diversity of pathways toward urban life in human history? Caral also encourages reflection on continuity and influence. Though later Andean civilizations, including the Nazca, Moche, and Inca, flourished centuries or millennia afterward, it remains unclear how much direct knowledge or cultural inheritance traveled from Caral to these later societies. Was Caral an isolated phenomenon, or part of a broader network of early Andean settlements whose shared knowledge laid the groundwork for subsequent cultural developments? Archaeologists continue to debate these questions, as the lack of written records leaves interpretation reliant on material traces, environmental context, and the subtle cues embedded in the city's design. The landscape itself shapes our encounter with Caral. Rising out of the dry, sun-baked valley, the pyramids, plazas, and terraces emerge as both monumental and intimate, evoking a sense of human presence intertwined with the desert. Wind sweeps across the ruins, carrying dust and sand that trace the contours of ancient streets, while the surrounding mountains frame the city as if guarding it in silence. Standing amid the remnants of Caral, one is acutely aware of the human lives that once animated this space: families tending crops, artisans shaping instruments, priests or leaders conducting ceremonies, all contributing to a vibrant, complex society now visible only through stone, adobe, and echoing absence. Caral, like the Uffington White Horse, the Hypogeum Resonance Chamber, the Baigong Pipes, Adam's Calendar, the Atacama Giant, the Tartaria Tablets, the Cochno Stone, the Longyou Caves, Madol, the Lake Michigan Stone Circle, the Lolladoff Plate, the Lintels of Yaxchilan, Pedra do Ingá, the Rhodope Skull, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, and the Lady of Dai, challenges our understanding of human ingenuity. It confronts us with questions that endure across time. How did early civilizations emerge? How was knowledge encoded, transmitted, and preserved without written language? And what secrets of social, spiritual, and architectural sophistication remain hidden beneath the sands, waiting to be rediscovered? The city endures as both monument and mystery. Its pyramids, plazas, and instruments speak of human creativity, observation, and community. Yet the full story of Caral remains tantalizingly out of reach. As we stand amid its sun-baked stones, we are reminded that the past is never entirely silent. Every mound, every terrace, every artifact hints at knowledge and experience that shaped the course of human history, inviting us to imagine, question, and wonder what other truths remain buried, quietly awaiting discovery. From the sun-baked pyramids of Caral in Peru, our journey now moves northward across continents and climates into the dense, shadowed forests of the Ural Mountains in Russia. Here, beneath peat bogs that have preserved its form for millennia, stands one of the most enigmatic artifacts ever discovered: the Shigir Idol. Unlike the stone monuments and architectural feats we have encountered so far, this is a creation of wood, a medium inherently fragile, yet through extraordinary circumstances, it has survived for an astonishing span of time. Standing more than 5 meters tall, carved from larch, the Shigir Idol is adorned with a series of intricate geometric patterns, human-like faces, and enigmatic symbols. Its surface is deeply etched with zigzags, lines, and spirals, many of which seem to follow a deliberate rhythm or sequence. Despite its age, the patterns remain visible, a testament to both the skill of its maker and the remarkable preservative qualities of the peat that encased it. The first question that strikes the observer is simple yet profound. What did these marks mean to the people who carved them? Radiocarbon dating places the Shigir Idol at an astonishing 11,500 years old, making it the oldest known monumental wooden sculpture in the world. To put this in perspective, it predates the construction of Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids, emerging from a world where human societies were primarily hunter-gatherers, far removed from urban centers or complex civilizations. How did a culture with such ostensibly simple technologies conceive of and create a work of art that embodies such scale, intention, and symbolic sophistication? The idol's design is both haunting and mesmerizing. Its faces, abstract yet recognizably anthropomorphic, are interspersed with motifs that some scholars interpret as symbolic representations of spirits, ancestors, or natural forces. The geometric patterns might convey a form of proto-writing, a cosmological map, or ritual instructions. Could these carvings have been a way to communicate knowledge, myth, or spiritual beliefs across generations? And if so, how much of this language can we ever hope to decode, given that its creators left no written records and we are separated by thousands of years of cultural evolution? Archaeologists and anthropologists have proposed several interpretations, each hinting at the cultural and spiritual complexity of the people who made it. Some suggest that the Shigir Idol functioned as a guardian figure, a monumental presence meant to protect or bless the landscape and its inhabitants. Others argue it may have been a ritual object, used in ceremonies marking seasonal cycles, hunts, or rites of passage. Its placement in a bog, rather than a domestic or settlement context, suggests intentional deposition, perhaps as an offering or a conduit between the human and the supernatural world. The craftsmanship itself is remarkable. Carving larch of such size, with precise and consistent motifs, would have required sophisticated tools, steady hands, and an advanced understanding of material properties. The geometric patterns are not random. They show repetition, variation, and symmetry, suggesting that the creators had a structured system of design, perhaps a symbolic grammar now lost to time. How did hunter-gatherer societies acquire the knowledge and social organization to produce such a work? And why choose wood, a material prone to decay and destruction, over more permanent media, unless they understood the preservative potential of peat bogs, or perhaps intended its eventual disappearance as part of the work's meaning? Speculative interpretations extend to the idol's possible use as a calendar or astronomical tool, tracking lunar cycles or seasonal changes, although evidence remains inconclusive. Some researchers have suggested that the patterns encode mythic narratives, mapping cosmology or ancestral memory onto the surface of the wood. Others propose that it is a symbolic representation of the interconnectedness of humans, nature, and the spirit world, a three-dimensional story carved in lines, faces, and abstract forms. The idol's discovery in the late 19th century, fragmented yet still imposing, ignited debate and fascination. Over the years, additional sections were recovered, allowing scholars to reconstruct much of its original form. Yet, even with careful study, much about the Shigir Idol remains unresolved. How did the people of the Ural region conceptualize such a monumental figure in a world devoid of cities, metallurgy, or writing? What beliefs, rituals, and social structures underpinned its creation? And how did this early symbolic expression influence, or fail to influence, later societies across Eurasia? Visiting the site today, one can almost sense the ancient forest enveloping the artifact in mystery. Imagine a world of towering trees, frozen winters, and vast expanses of wilderness, where humans carved meaning into the living wood of the forest and deposited it into the bog, perhaps believing that it would endure beyond their lifetimes. The Shigir Idol, preserved by nature itself, continues to communicate across time, its presence both tangible and enigmatic. The Shigir Idol, like the ancient city of Caral, the Uffington White Horse, the Hypogeum Resonance Chamber, the Baigong Pipes, Adam's Calendar, the Atacama Giant, the Tartaria Tablets, the Cochno Stone, the Longyou Caves, Madol, the Lake Michigan Stone Circle, the Lolladoff Plate, the Lintels of Yaxchilan, Pedra do Ingá, the Rhodope Skull, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, and the Lady of Dai embodies the profound tension between the human drive to create and the mysteries that endure through time. It challenges assumptions about prehistoric societies, their capacities, and their worldviews, revealing that symbolic thought, ritual expression, and monumental artistry existed far earlier than previously believed. Standing before the Shigir Idol, one is confronted with questions that remain unanswered. What knowledge did its creators seek to preserve? What forces, human or spiritual, guided its design and placement? And how much of humanity's early intellectual and symbolic history lies buried, silently waiting to be rediscovered beneath peat, stone, or earth? In its carved lines and enigmatic faces, the Shigir Idol continues to speak across millennia, inviting us to listen closely and wonder at the depth of human imagination and the enduring mysteries of our past. From the towering forests of Russia and the Shigir Idol, Our journey now returns to the rolling landscapes of southern England, where a monumental earthen mound rises silently from the chalk plains of Wiltshire. Silbury Hill. Unlike the chalked silhouette of the Uffington White Horse, this is a creation of Earth itself, a colossal, artificial hill that dominates the landscape, measuring approximately 40 meters high and 167 meters in diameter, making it the largest prehistoric man-made mound in Europe. From a distance, it resembles a natural hill, yet closer inspection reveals its deliberate construction, layer upon layer of chalk, clay, and soil painstakingly shaped by human hands. Silbury Hill is part of a broader prehistoric landscape, closely linked with the Neolithic complexes of Avebury and Stonehenge, yet it remains enigmatic in purpose and meaning. Archaeologists first excavated the mound in the 18th and 19th centuries, uncovering complex stratigraphy and occasional artifacts, but revealing little about its function. Unlike burial mounds, Silbury contains no human remains, no large ceremonial structures, and no inscriptions to guide interpretation. Its very scale, however, suggests monumental intention, an undertaking requiring the coordinated labor of a substantial community over many years. What inspired such ambition in a society without written language or centralized political structures? The construction of Silbury Hill demonstrates an extraordinary understanding of material and geometry. Layers of chalk, carefully tamped and compacted, create a stable and enduring structure. Evidence of internal platforms and chambers hints at sophisticated engineering. Yet these features may not have served a utilitarian purpose. Could they have been symbolic, intended to emulate cosmological order, or to guide ritual activity? The precision and labor invested suggest that the mound was central to the spiritual or communal identity of the builders. Scholars have long debated the purpose of Silbury Hill. Some propose that it functioned as a ritual or ceremonial site, a place where gatherings, offerings, or seasonal observances took place. Others suggest that it acted as a territorial marker, a visible emblem asserting control or ownership over the surrounding landscape. Its proximity to Avebury's henge and stone circles may indicate integration into a larger network of sacred spaces, forming a landscape imbued with cosmological or symbolic significance. Was Silbury Hill a focal point of Neolithic belief, a monument to ancestors, a celestial observatory, or a combination of these functions? The absence of burial chambers or overt symbolic decoration deepens the mystery. While some smaller mounds in Neolithic Europe contain graves, Silbury remains curiously empty, as if the purpose of the structure was abstract, conceptual, or entirely ritualistic. This challenges modern assumptions about monumental construction. Perhaps significance need not be tangible, measurable, or permanent, but experienced, performed, or imagined by those who built it. Could the act of building itself, the collective labor and coordination, have held spiritual or social meaning independent of any later purpose? Speculative theories abound. Some researchers have proposed that Silbury Hill functioned as a cosmological marker, aligned with solar or lunar events, or serving as a point of reference across the Avebury landscape. Others have suggested that it was designed to resonate with human perception and experience, creating an elevated vantage point for ceremonies, observation, or processions. Fringe hypotheses occasionally suggest astronomical or even extraterrestrial guidance, yet the strongest evidence emphasizes human ingenuity, observation, and social cooperation, a prehistoric achievement that reflects knowledge embedded in experience rather than written record. Silbury Hill also evokes questions about temporal perception. Constructed around 2400 BCE, the mound has endured through millennia of weather, agriculture, and human activity. Its longevity speaks to both the durability of its construction and the enduring fascination it has held for successive generations. For Neolithic people, building such a mound would have been a monumental investment in time, labor, and social organization. What beliefs, rituals, or cosmologies justified this effort? And how did those who built it understand the future, imagining that their work would endure across generations? The surrounding landscape amplifies the mystery. Silbury Hill rises from a patchwork of fields, rivers, and smaller prehistoric monuments, forming part of a deliberately organized terrain. Paths, ditches, and aligned stones suggest that the site was meant to be approached, circumnavigated, and experienced in a particular manner. The hill interacts with light and shadow, rising against the horizon in ways that would have created a sense of awe and monumentality, linking human activity to the natural world and the cosmos. The act of moving around and toward the mound, ascending its gentle slopes, may have been integral to its intended effect: ritual, symbolic, or perceptual. Silbury Hill, like the Shigir Idol, the ancient city of Caral, the Uffington White Horse, the Hypogeum Resonance Chamber, the Baigong Pipes, Adam's Calendar, the Atacama Giant, the Tartaria Tablets, the Cochno Stone, the Longyou Caves, Madol, the Lake Michigan Stone Circle, the Lolladoff Plate, the Lintels of Yaxchilan, Pedra do Ingá, the Rhodope Skull, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, and the Lady of Dai, confronts us with questions about the ambitions, beliefs, and capabilities of prehistoric societies. It challenges us to imagine the world as these communities experienced it, through movement, labor, observation, and ritual, and to consider what forms of knowledge and meaning may have guided their monumental achievements. As we stand before Silbury Hill today, its smooth, grassy slopes stretching to the horizon, we are left with enduring questions. Why build on such a scale without apparent utilitarian purpose? How was such labor coordinated and sustained in a Neolithic context? And what deeper truths about social cohesion, spiritual belief, or cosmological awareness might be encoded in this monumental earthen form? Silbury Hill remains a silent sentinel, a tangible yet inscrutable testament to human creativity, ambition, and the enduring mysteries of our shared past. It invites us to wonder, to question, and to look beyond the visible. What other monumental acts of imagination and observation lie hidden, waiting to be discovered, understood, and marveled at across the landscapes of history? From the verdant slopes of Silbury Hill in England, our journey now crosses continents and oceans to the rugged landscapes of South Africa, where some of the most perplexing artifacts ever discovered challenge our understanding of Earth's deep history: the Klerksdorp Spheres. Unlike monumental constructions or ceremonial mounds, these objects are small, seemingly simple, yet profoundly enigmatic. Metallic spheres, some barely larger than a marble, others measuring several centimeters across, perfectly rounded or grooved with mysterious parallel lines, found embedded in ancient pyrophyllite deposits, estimated to be over 2.8 billion years old. The spheres were first noticed near the town of Klerksdorp in the northwest province, scattered among the surrounding sedimentary rock formations. Their smooth surfaces and precise, symmetrical features immediately suggested intentional shaping, yet they are found within geological strata that predates most known life on Earth. At first glance, they resemble modern machined objects, yet their presence in such ancient rock raises profound questions. Were they natural formations, the result of geological processes spanning eons, or evidence of an ancient intelligence we have yet to understand? Close examination reveals a remarkable diversity of forms. Some are perfectly spherical. Others have distinct ridges or concentric grooves that spiral around their surfaces. The grooves are exceptionally uniform, often encircling the spheres with mathematical regularity that seems to defy purely natural explanations. Could such symmetry arise from natural concretion, or does it hint at the hand of deliberate craftsmanship? If they are natural, What extraordinary forces and conditions could have sculpted them with such precision in a time before life as we know it? Mainstream geological explanations suggest that the spheres are concretions formed when mineral-laden water seeped into cavities within sedimentary rock, slowly depositing layers of minerals around a nucleus. Over millions of years, these processes can yield spherical or cylindrical shapes, occasionally with grooved surfaces due to differential erosion. Yet even with this explanation, the level of regularity and the internal composition of some spheres continue to baffle scientists. How did nature create such uniform forms consistently across multiple specimens, some containing unusual metallic elements? Speculative interpretations have long circulated. Some researchers suggest that the spheres are evidence of ancient tool-making or advanced craftsmanship, predating all known civilizations by billions of years, a proposition that raises profound questions about life, intelligence, and technological development on Earth. Others propose that they could have served as ritual objects, symbolic markers, or even components of a long-lost mechanical system, though no corroborating structures have been found. These ideas remain controversial, and the scientific community debates them cautiously, aware that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The sphere's discovery in pyrophyllite, a relatively soft, easily eroded mineral, further complicates the narrative. While this matrix preserves the objects, their survival over billions of years seems improbable, prompting questions about both geological stability and preservation mechanisms. Could some process have shielded the spheres from the immense pressures, heat, and chemical changes typical of such ancient formations? If so, what does that suggest about the conditions of Earth's early crust and the forces shaping these enigmatic stones? What makes the Klerksdorp Spheres particularly compelling is the sheer intersection of simplicity and mystery. Their small size belies their capacity to challenge long-held assumptions about time, geology, and potential intelligence on Earth. A sphere is fundamentally minimalistic, yet in its perfection lies the power to provoke profound questions. Can nature alone account for perfect geometry? If not, what or who could have produced them, and why? Were they simply byproducts of geologic processes, or remnants of something far more intentional and purposeful, now lost to time? The spheres also invite reflection on the limits of human understanding. Most ancient artifacts we encounter are associated with visible structures, settlements, or cultural records. The Klerksdorp Spheres, however, offer only form without context, isolated in rock that predates known life. This absence of narrative compels us to speculate, to explore alternative explanations, and to confront the possibility that Earth's history may contain mysteries far older and more complex than conventional archaeology or geology can fully account for. Holding a Klerksdorp sphere, or imagining it in the palm of a Neolithic hand or even before humans walked the planet, is to confront the boundary between the natural and the artificial, between the ancient and the timeless. Its grooves and spherical perfection engage the mind, provoking questions about the forces, natural, intelligent, or otherwise, that could produce such objects. Did these spheres emerge from the slow, patient work of mineral deposition, guided by the laws of physics? Or are we glimpsing the vestiges of a forgotten artistry, a knowledge long erased by time? The surrounding landscape reinforces the mystery. The Northwest Province, with its rolling hills and mineral-rich deposits, seems ordinary at first glance, yet it hides secrets embedded within stone for billions of years. One can imagine the quiet persistence of geological processes, the slow seepage of minerals, the burial and preservation of objects that eventually intrigue and confound modern observers. It is a place where time itself becomes palpable, where the ancient earth whispers fragments of stories we may only partially understand. The Klerksdorp Spheres, like Silbury Hill, the Shigir Idol, the ancient city of Caral, the Uffington White Horse, the Hypogeum Resonance Chamber, the Baigong Pipes, Adam's Calendar, the Atacama Giant, the Tartaria Tablets, the Cochno Stone, the Longyou Caves, Madol, the Lake Michigan Stone Circle, the Lolladoff Plate, the Lintels of Yaxchilan, Pedra do Ingá, the Rhodope Skull, the Bolshoi Zayatsky Labyrinths, and the Lady of Dai, embodies the tension between observation and understanding, between the visible artifact and the invisible context that gives it meaning. These spheres challenge us to consider the depths of geological time, the origins of pattern, and the boundaries of human and natural creativity. As we contemplate the smooth, grooved surfaces of the Klerksdorp Spheres, the questions remain open. Are we seeing the work of geological artistry, the echo of an intelligence long vanished, or a combination of forces that we cannot yet fully discern? How much of Earth's deep history remains hidden in plain sight, awaiting discovery by those willing to look closely and think deeply? In their quiet, enigmatic presence, the Klerksdorp Spheres continue to speak across billions of years, inviting us to wonder, to explore, and to imagine what secrets lie still embedded within our planet's ancient crust. From the ancient enigma of the Klerksdorp Spheres in South Africa, our journey returns to the arid landscapes of southern Peru, where one of the most debated and controversial archaeological discoveries in modern times awaits: the Ica Stones. Scattered across the dusty terrain near the town of Ica, these stones are small, often palm-sized, and etched with hundreds of intricate carvings. At first glance, they may seem unassuming, but their imagery is far from ordinary, depicting scenes that span both the familiar and the fantastical. Prehistoric creatures, complex surgeries, advanced astronomical observations, and strangely modern technology. The stones first came to international attention in the 1960s, largely through the work of Dr. Javier Cabrera, a local physician who amassed thousands of these artifacts, cataloging the elaborate and diverse engravings. Many show dinosaurs interacting with humans, advanced surgical procedures resembling modern operations, and detailed astronomical charts challenging conventional timelines of human history. Are these carvings a window into lost knowledge, an elaborate hoax, or a symbolic record encoded with meaning we have yet to decipher? Radiocarbon dating and geological analysis have struggled to establish the true age of the stones. While the rocks themselves are ancient, the etchings could have been made relatively recently. Critics argue that many of the stones are modern forgeries, crafted to attract attention or profit. Yet supporters point to stylistic consistency, tool marks, and the sheer volume of stones as evidence that at least some of the collection may represent genuine, older artifacts. How do we reconcile the possibility of authentic ancient knowledge with the reality of potential modern intervention? The carvings themselves are deeply evocative. Some illustrate humans riding or interacting with dinosaurs, creatures long thought extinct millions of years before humans appeared. Others depict advanced surgical procedures, including cranial operations, organ transplants, and complex treatments of the human body, often rendered with astonishing anatomical precision. Some stones even suggest flying machines or telescopic devices. Could these depictions represent a symbolic memory, preserved knowledge passed through generations, or imaginative renderings inspired by cultural storytelling? Or do they reflect the hopes, fears, and creativity of people seeking to imagine worlds beyond their immediate experience? Mainstream archaeology tends to view the stones with skepticism, emphasizing the possibility of hoax or misinterpretation. After all, the notion of humans coexisting with dinosaurs directly contradicts the established fossil record. However, a purely dismissive approach leaves unanswered questions about the diversity and consistency of the carvings. Why do so many stones feature similar themes? How did the artisans, regardless of era, maintain stylistic continuity over potentially thousands of pieces? And if some stones are authentic, what truths about pre-Columbian knowledge, cultural memory, or symbolic representation might they preserve? Beyond the question of authenticity lies the broader inquiry into purpose. The stones were not buried in formal graves or ceremonial sites. They were found scattered across the desert, often near ancient burial grounds or settlements. Were they educational tools, a method of recording knowledge or legend? Were they ritual objects used in ceremonies to connect the living with the spiritual or ancestral world? Or could they have functioned as a cosmological map, encoding astronomical or environmental data critical to survival in the harsh Peruvian desert? The lack of context makes it impossible to answer definitively, yet the ambiguity is part of their enduring intrigue. The techniques used to carve the Ica stones also raise questions. Many exhibit consistent line depth, precision, and proportional accuracy, suggesting knowledge of tools and materials beyond what might be expected for a purely primitive culture. Could the artisans have possessed a sophisticated understanding of stonework, anatomy, and observation, long lost to history? Or does the uniformity of technique point to modern replication, skillfully mimicking ancient styles? The answers remain elusive, caught between scientific investigation, intuition, and interpretation. The Ica stones, much like the Klerksdorp Spheres, present a compelling intersection of mystery, science, and imagination. They challenge assumptions about timelines, human knowledge, and the limits of prehistoric technology. They ask us to consider the possibility that aspects of human understanding, whether historical, mythological, or symbolic, might persist in ways that defy simple explanation. How many artifacts lie scattered, silent witnesses to knowledge lost or deliberately concealed, waiting for rediscovery or recognition? As we examine these engraved stones, we are confronted with the tension between evidence and interpretation, between observable fact and the human desire to uncover meaning. The Ica stones compel us to ponder whether we fully understand the breadth of human experience, the scope of knowledge that might have existed in forgotten eras, or the ingenuity that allowed early humans to observe, record, and imagine their world with unprecedented detail. In the stark Peruvian desert, under the endless sky, the Ica stones lie scattered, etched with scenes that speak across centuries, bridging the human imagination with the enigmatic past. They remind us that history is not always linear, that the boundaries of human knowledge may extend far beyond conventional timelines, and that mystery is sometimes as integral to understanding as evidence itself. The stones leave us with a profound, open question. Are we looking at remnants of lost civilizations, symbolic records of imagination and memory, or a complex interplay of ancient and modern influence? And if they do preserve fragments of ancient wisdom, what might yet remain undiscovered in the sands of time, waiting to challenge everything we think we know about our history? From the arid deserts of Peru and the enigmatic Ica stones, our journey now moves across continents to the mountainous landscapes of northern Italy, where the Val Camonica Valley reveals one of Europe's most extensive and intriguing collections of prehistoric rock art. Here, etched into the pale granite faces of cliffs and boulders, lie over 140,000 individual petroglyphs carved across millennia, spanning from approximately 8,000 BCE to 1000 BCE. These engravings provide a tangible window into the lives, beliefs, and imaginations of the valley's ancient inhabitants. Yet they also pose profound questions that remain unresolved to this day. The petroglyphs are as diverse as they are abundant. Some depict daily activities, hunting, herding, dancing, while others illustrate rituals, weapons, and symbolic objects. Animals, geometric patterns, human figures, and abstract motifs are all present, meticulously incised with hand tools into stone surfaces that have endured the passage of thousands of years. Walking among these carvings, one senses the deep connection between the people who created them and the rugged landscape they inhabited, a connection both practical and spiritual. The very act of engraving stone in such quantities suggests a culture deeply invested in communication, memory, and perhaps a broader cosmology. Yet the purpose and meaning of the Val Camonica Petroglyphs are far from clear. Mainstream archaeology generally interprets them as ritualistic or symbolic expressions, records of social activity, or even early attempts at proto-writing. The presence of repeated motifs, such as spiral patterns, concentric circles, or enigmatic human-animal hybrids, hints at complex belief systems or symbolic languages that we may only partially comprehend. What did these shapes signify to the people of the valley? Were they religious symbols, markers of territorial boundaries, or mnemonic devices used to transmit knowledge across generations? One of the enduring enigmas is the striking consistency of certain motifs across vast temporal spans. Figures that appear in carvings from 6,000 years ago bear a resemblance to those etched millennia later, suggesting the persistence of cultural memory and symbolic tradition. How was such continuity maintained in societies without written language? Did the petroglyphs themselves act as a cultural anchor, preserving collective identity through the repetition of image and story? Speculative interpretations have also emerged. Some suggest that the geometric patterns encode astronomical observations, mapping the movements of the sun, moon, and stars across the seasons. Others propose that certain carvings represent shamanic visions, ritual journeys into altered states of consciousness, or even symbolic depictions of cosmic forces. The scale and density of the engravings amplify their impact. Standing before a cliff face covered in hundreds of figures, one is struck not only by the skill of the ancient artists, but by the immersive world they created. A world where myth, observation, and daily life intertwine. Technological questions add another layer of intrigue. How did early inhabitants carve such precise forms into hard granite using only rudimentary stone tools? Some carvings display remarkable depth and uniformity, suggesting careful planning and a sophisticated understanding of technique. Could these petroglyphs represent a form of early engineering, where knowledge of material properties and repetitive method allowed consistency over centuries? Or were the carvings as much a communal act as a practical one, a ritualized labor that reinforced social cohesion and transmitted cultural knowledge? The landscape itself is inseparable from the petroglyphs' meaning. Val Camonica is a valley of flowing rivers, steep cliffs, and dense forests, a place where humans have coexisted with nature for millennia. The location of the carvings is often deliberate, near water sources, along paths, or on prominent rock faces visible from afar. This placement suggests intentionality, a desire for visibility, or perhaps a spiritual significance in aligning human activity with natural topography. How did these ancient artists perceive their environment, and how did the land shape the narratives they chose to inscribe in stone? The Val Camonica Petroglyphs, like the Ica Stones, the Klerksdorp Spheres, Silbury Hill, the Shigir Idol, and the other ancient mysteries we have explored, force us to confront the limits of knowledge and interpretation. They are records without text, histories without conventional chronology, expressions of creativity and observation that transcend simple classification. In them, we see echoes of human curiosity, ingenuity, and the enduring desire to leave a mark upon the world, a mark that continues to engage, puzzle, and inspire. Perhaps what makes these engravings most compelling is their capacity to connect us across millennia. While the specific meanings may elude us, the act of carving into stone demonstrates intent, awareness, and a desire to communicate something enduring. What emotions, beliefs, or experiences drove these ancient hands to etch stone so meticulously, and how much of that knowledge has been lost to time? What secrets of social organization, spiritual practice, or observational skill remain hidden in the interstices of these carvings, waiting for deeper insight or new methodologies to reveal them? As we stand before these cliff faces, tracing the spirals, human figures, and animal forms with our eyes, we are reminded that human expression often precedes written language. These petroglyphs offer a bridge to the minds of people who lived thousands of years ago, preserving fragments of thought, imagination, and perhaps ritual practice. Yet they also leave us with the same profound sense of mystery that characterizes the Ica Stones and all the other enigmatic artifacts of the ancient world. What is fully understood, and what remains tantalizingly just beyond our grasp? The Val Camonica Petroglyphs invite us to reflect, to question, and to imagine. They stand as silent witnesses to human creativity and perception, reminding us that much of our past is still veiled, that even the most meticulously etched stone can conceal as much as it reveals. What other stories lie hidden, etched in stone, waiting for the patient eye to uncover their secrets? And what deeper truths about the ancient mind might we uncover if we listen carefully enough? From the etched cliffs of Italy and the vast collection of the Val Camonica Petroglyphs, our journey now travels across continents and millennia to the sun-baked sands of ancient Egypt, where a small, unassuming artifact has captivated archaeologists, engineers, and enthusiasts alike: the Saqqara bird. Discovered in 1898 within the burial complex of Padi Emen, a priest of the 6th dynasty in the necropolis of Saqqara, this wooden object is no larger than a modern pencil case, yet its shape, carefully carved from sycamore wood and painted in faded ochre, immediately invites speculation. At first glance, the Saqqara bird resembles a simple representation of a bird in flight. Its wings are outstretched, the tail is tapered, and the body is smooth, almost aerodynamic. However, the artifact's subtle curves and proportionally precise form have prompted questions that extend far beyond its symbolic value. Could it have been merely decorative, a funerary talisman symbolizing the soul's journey to the afterlife? Or does its form suggest something far more technologically ambitious? Some modern observers have noted that its shape bears a striking resemblance to the airfoil of a glider or primitive airplane, raising the tantalizing possibility that ancient Egyptians may have experimented with the principles of flight long before such concepts entered recorded history. Scholars generally agree that the object's age places it around 2000 BCE, an era in which the Egyptians had mastered woodworking, engineering, and artistic representation, yet were thought to have had no practical knowledge of aerodynamics. Experiments with replicas of the Saqqara bird have demonstrated that, under precise conditions, it can indeed glide across the air, though the flight is short and unstable. Could this have been an intentional experiment in flight, a playful demonstration of aerodynamics, or is it simply a coincidence that the artifact's shape happens to facilitate gliding? Mainstream Egyptology tends to interpret the Saqqara bird as a symbolic object, part of the ritual paraphernalia of the tomb, potentially representing the Ba, the soul in the form of a bird, capable of flight between the worlds of the living and the dead. The bird motif recurs throughout Egyptian art, often in funerary contexts, reinforcing its spiritual significance. Yet the artifact's aerodynamic properties cannot be ignored. Is it possible that symbolism and experimentation intersected here? That the Egyptians, inspired by observation of real birds, translated these forms into both art and primitive flight devices? The construction of the Saqqara bird also merits close attention. The wood is carefully shaped and sanded, with symmetrical wings and tail surfaces that are remarkably consistent. Such craftsmanship indicates an understanding of balance, proportion, and the physical properties of materials. Whether the artifact was intended for flight or purely for ritual, its design demonstrates a sophisticated eye for form and function, a merging of artistic and empirical sensibilities. Could the careful shaping of the wings and tail indicate early experimentation with lift, stability, and glide dynamics? Or was the symmetry achieved purely for aesthetic and symbolic purposes? Some researchers have proposed more speculative interpretations. Could the Saqqara bird represent evidence of ancient Egyptians' fascination with aviation, a forgotten technology or conceptual exploration, later abandoned and lost to history? Might it hint at broader knowledge of aerodynamics encoded within Egyptian artistry, an intersection of science and spirituality that is yet to be fully understood? While no textual or physical evidence supports sustained flight experiments in ancient Egypt, the artifact remains provocative, raising questions about how much of their empirical observation was preserved, lost, or deliberately encoded in symbolic forms. The location of its discovery is equally significant. Saqqara, the necropolis of Memphis, was a complex of pyramids, tombs, and sacred spaces, a hub of religious, artistic, and technological innovation. That the bird was placed within a tomb suggests a ritualistic or symbolic purpose, yet its survival for more than 4 millennia allows us to scrutinize its design and imagine the hands that carved it. What inspired the artisans? Did they merely aim to honor the deceased, or were they experimenting, observing, and recording the physical world in miniature form, merging spiritual representation with physical experimentation? The Saqqara bird, like the Ica Stones, the Val Camonica Petroglyphs, and the Klerksdorp Spheres before it, embodies the tension between observation, imagination, and practical knowledge. It challenges us to consider what ancient humans knew, what they experimented with, and how much of their empirical insight may be hidden in plain sight, preserved within symbolic artifacts. Could ancient Egyptians have understood flight in principle, even if they never developed machines capable of sustained powered flight? Or is this merely a remarkable coincidence, an artifact whose aerodynamic qualities were incidental rather than intentional? Standing before a replica, or even imagining the original resting in its tomb, the Saqqara bird provokes a sense of wonder. Its small wooden frame whispers of ancient observation, of the desire to emulate the natural world, and of the potential for ingenuity that transcends the eras. It reminds us that even in civilizations considered well-documented, there remain enigmas that defy simple explanation, artifacts that challenge our assumptions about knowledge, experimentation, and creativity. Ultimately, the Saqqara bird leaves us with an open question that echoes through the corridors of history. Was this small wooden object simply a symbolic representation of flight, a spiritual metaphor, or an early experiment in aerodynamics, lost and forgotten by time? What other fragments of knowledge, hidden in art, tools, or tombs, might still lie awaiting discovery, quietly bridging the worlds of human imagination, observation, and technology? In its quiet elegance, the Saqqara bird speaks across millennia, reminding us that mystery often resides where craftsmanship meets curiosity, and that the line between symbolism and science may be more fluid than we often imagine. From the carved bedrock of Scotland and the enigmatic Cochno petroglyphs, our journey now moves southward to the vast, sunlit plains of West Africa, where the Senegambia region, encompassing parts of modern-day Senegal and the Gambia, harbors one of the continent's most mysterious and ancient monuments, the Senegambian stone circles. Stretching across hundreds of kilometers, these circles, numbering more than 1,000 individual sites, stand as silent witnesses to human activity spanning the first millennium BCE to the early centuries CE, their purpose and creators still shrouded in uncertainty. At first glance, the stone circles appear deceptively simple. Roughly hewn stones arranged in circular or oval patterns, sometimes with smaller stones placed within the rings. yet their arrangement, scale, and sheer abundance hint at something far more deliberate than decoration. The stones vary in size, from modest rocks, less than a meter tall, to monoliths reaching over 3 meters, and are often laid out with remarkable geometric precision, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of space, symmetry, and possibly ritual significance. The largest circles can span up to 30 meters in diameter, forming a monumental canvas on which ancient communities expressed ideas, power, and belief. Archaeological excavations have revealed that many of the circles are associated with burials, including remains accompanied by pottery, personal artifacts, and occasional evidence of ritual activity. Radiocarbon dating places some of the earliest burials around 3,000 years ago, yet the sheer variety of the sites, coupled with variations in size, shape, and construction style, suggests a tradition maintained over centuries by successive generations. What drove these people to erect stone after stone across such a vast landscape? Were the circles markers of sacred ground, territorial boundaries, or sites for ceremonial gatherings? Or did they serve as astronomical observatories, recording the movements of the sun, moon, and stars across the African sky? Some researchers have noted alignments within the stone circles that suggest careful attention to celestial events, such as solstices or equinoxes. Others highlight the possibility of symbolic representations of the cosmos, linking the earthly and spiritual worlds through geometry and stone. The placement of the stones, often isolated in open fields yet occasionally grouped near rivers, hills, or other natural landmarks, implies an intentional integration of the monuments with the landscape. Could these alignments reflect a sophisticated understanding of natural cycles, agricultural rhythms, or spiritual cosmology? Beyond practical explanations, the aesthetic and social dimensions of the Senegambian stone circles demand attention. Constructing such monuments would have required coordinated labor, knowledge of engineering, and shared cultural intent, pointing to a community capable of organizing large-scale projects over long periods. Were the circles a form of social cohesion, creating communal identity and continuity? Or did they serve as markers of power and status, signaling the presence of influential families or spiritual leaders across the landscape? Speculative theories also abound. Some have suggested that the stone circles encode lost knowledge of pre-colonial African civilizations, hinting at connections between distant communities, or the transmission of astronomical and ritual knowledge over centuries. Others propose that the monuments functioned as energy grids or sacred networks, though such interpretations remain outside mainstream archaeology. Even without definitive answers, the stones themselves, weathered, enduring, and silently monumental, speak to human intent, creativity, and the desire to leave a lasting mark upon the land. Modern exploration of the Senegambian stone circles presents challenges as well. Many sites are threatened by agriculture, urban expansion, and natural erosion, obscuring their original form and context. Yet careful study, including mapping, excavation, and 3D modeling, has revealed intricate patterns invisible to the naked eye, suggesting a complexity that surpasses initial impressions. Some stones are clustered into interlocking rings, while others form radial arrays, spiral motifs, or alignments that invite comparison with other ancient megalithic traditions worldwide. Could there have been a shared architectural or symbolic language linking distant civilizations? Or is this complexity a reflection of unique, localized innovation? The cultural significance of the stone circles endures even today. Local oral traditions reference spirits, ancestors, and sacred rituals associated with the stones, preserving echoes of meaning across generations. These traditions, though fragmented and sometimes contradictory, highlight the enduring role of the monuments in community memory and identity. They remind us that the circles are not merely archaeological curiosities. They are part of a living landscape of history, belief, and human expression. The Senegambian stone circles, like the Cochno petroglyphs and the Saqqara bird, challenge our understanding of prehistoric societies. They suggest a blend of practical knowledge, spiritual belief, and artistic expression, all encoded into enduring monuments that outlast the people who built them. Each circle is at once specific and universal, a microcosm of human ingenuity and the persistent quest to understand the world. Ultimately, the stone circles leave us with the same quiet, compelling question that haunts so many ancient mysteries. What were these monuments meant to convey? And what knowledge, beliefs, or rituals have been lost to time? Were they astronomical markers, sacred spaces, communal gathering sites, or symbolic expressions of a worldview we may never fully grasp? As we walk among these weathered stones today, we are reminded that the past often resists our attempts at neat explanation, that some monuments were designed not merely to be understood, but to inspire wonder, reflection, and reverence across generations. The Senegambian stone circles stand as enduring sentinels of human curiosity and ingenuity. They invite us to question, to explore, and to imagine the minds and societies that conceived them, leaving behind a legacy that continues to captivate and mystify all who encounter these ancient, silent guardians.